Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Got a good show for you today, folks. We are going to talk about By the Side of the Road, the true story of the abduction and murder of Ann Harrison. We're going to talk to Marla Bernard, the author of this story, and get into why this story gets so complex. We're going to talk today about the subject of capital punishment. So we'll talk today a little bit about capital punishment and why the wheels of justice turn so slowly. And that's one of those things that we'll talk about. We'll also talk about the tragedy that is Ann Harrison and why her family really got kind of taken through the mud through many decades as this continued to go on. A lot behind the story. So we'll talk a lot about that here in just a moment. I want to talk first. Just do one quick house cleaning message here for you before we get to Marla. That's this: True Crime Tuesday can now be found on the internet. The archives of True Crime Tuesday. Just go to officialtruecrimetuesday.com. The years that were on Patreon between 2017 and 2021 are now available for free. If you go to officialtruecrimetuesday.com, you can also get host bios and much, much more. Again, that's officialtruecrimetuesday.com. And if you have the Darkness Radio app, which is available for Apple in the Apple App Store, just download that. That's got a direct link or a button for True Crime Tuesday and the official True Crime Tuesday website. You just click on the True Crime Tuesday button in the Darkness Radio Apple app, and you can access the website as well and get all the archives for Official True Crime Tuesday. But again, officialtruecrimetuesday.com, and you can get the Patreon years, the archives, over there. And of course, to listen to new episodes of True Crime Tuesday, just keep following it at darknessradioshow.com. It's officialtruecrimetuesday.com and darknessradioshow.com for all of your related True Crime Tuesday and Darkness Radio show matters. So there you go. Let's get into the show, shall we? Our guest is Marla Bernard. She's a former police sergeant and is a passionate victims' rights advocate, author, and public speaker. She received her Master's of Arts with honors from Baker University. She serves as an adjunct faculty for a national university where she has written several criminal justice courses and has been a contributor to national law enforcement publications. She and her husband were recently filmed for an upcoming true crime series in the United Kingdom for an episode based on her first book, Through the Rain. Her work has been published in 2 volumes of Chicken Soup for the Soul. She is currently writing her 3rd book, which is a collection of short stories about individuals whose positive influences make a significant impact on her life. Marla and her retired husband, Sergeant David Bernard, reside in the Midwest near the love of their lives, their 2 children, and their 3 grandchildren. So let's welcome into True Crime Tuesday, Marla Bernard. Hi, Marla.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I am fabulous for this beautiful fall day.
It is a beautiful fall day. And, you know, I want to hold on to fall as long as I can. You kind of tie this in perfectly. You know, there's certain things in life that we want to hold on to as long as we can. And there's certain memories, certain things in life. We want to hold on to our children at certain ages for as long as we can, I think. You know, there's certain sweet spots in life that we wish we could hold on to forever. What strikes me when I read your book, By the Side of the Road, is the one thing I pick up about the Harrisons, Ann's parents, is it seems like even through tragedy, they're not holding on to Ann's memory as tight as I think other people do in the community, as much as I think, or maybe I'm just not reading it right. They are holding on to her memory. They are fighting for her, but they're not grasping it so tightly that they're choking things out. They're growing things in her stead. And we can
Exactly.
we can explain that a little bit down the road here as we get into the program. But they have, despite tragedy after tragedy being thrown at them, it's not befalling them. It's being thrown at them. They're persevering in the face of tragedy, and they're growing things in Ann's name, as opposed to holding on to a memory and choking out the rest of their lives. A lot of people do that in the face of tragedy.
They do. And with the Harrisons, they had 2 other daughters, and they have been able to, I think, keep a balance to ensure that those girls had as normal an upbringing as they possibly could, given going to the same school that their sister did and kind of being in her shadow. They did not allow that to overshadow their family. They, I think most people are familiar with the Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Yes.
And being able to take Anne's situation, it was early in the process when the Center for Missing and Exploited Children was coming up. It was in its infancy about the time that Anne was murdered, and they did fundraisers. She played softball, and they did tournaments, and were actually able to raise, I believe it was in excess of $100,000 to help get that started. And so they've taken things that meant something to Anne, that meant something to their family, and tried to keep that at the forefront, despite this ongoing process of trying to bring her murderers to justice. And it kept surfacing. And then you would think that when those old wounds were opened, that it was almost over, and they'd get so far in the process, and then the justice system would knock them back, and there just didn't seem to be any finality to it. But I think that they have worked really hard, and they are 2 of the most engaging, delightful people, if you will, despite everything that they've been through.
Let's. Why don't you give us a quick introduction of the Harrison family and just who they are and just who Anne was surrounded by up through her precious 15 years.
Anne was the oldest in a family of 3 girls. Bob was a reserve police officer with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, which is actually how we met the Harrisons. Janelle, they own a company here actually in Raytown, Missouri, which is a suburb of Kansas City. It's kind of Kansas City, Raytown, all the little surrounding communities. We're truly the heart of America. It is just one big community. And they fit the mold of just being a good family, that hardworking, industrious family, just the most generous people. And they were I don't even want to say Anne was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was in absolutely the right place when she was abducted. But just a good family here that would be you would want them for a neighbor, you would want them for a friend, and we're blessed to have them in our lives. They're just really good people.
Yeah. You bring up an interesting point, and we'll get to that here in a moment. Marla, the thing that's heartbreaking about this story is just that we kind of start out the story talking about, and really this is good and evil. It's pure good and evil. We talk about this world sometimes in shades of gray, and how everyone's got good and evil in them. And I hear that all the time. Tim, no, everyone's got good and evil. Everyone's got choices they can make. Everybody's made that choice at one time or another. You know what? This story really is good and evil.
Exactly.
It really is.
Exactly.
There's no gray in this story, is there, Marla?
Not from my perspective, I don't think there is. And, we tend to think about what the quote unquote bad guy or bad individual looks like, but there is no, they look just like everybody else. It goes clear back to Shakespeare's time. He said, there's no devils in hell. They walk among us. And really, I think that's the case, that it's just there everywhere. And despite your best efforts, it's not always avoidable. I think there were 2 cases here recently in the media of just people out jogging. One woman actually was abducted and murdered. Another one was a near miss. I saw a child that in an attempted abduction, and she was 6 years old. And fortunately, her family was right there within grabbing distance of her, and no rhyme or reason. You just can't anticipate it. But you're right. It's there. It's evil is a 4-letter word, and I think it's incumbent upon us to then try and grasp other 4-letter words, that there is good and there is love and there is life. And those are the things that we have to strive to grasp and grab hold of and hang on with both hands when you see a family go through what the Harrisons went through.
Yeah. There's 2 things I could never contemplate. And I guess one of the reasons I like to do the show is because I think I get a little bit closer to understanding why. The criminal mind is, I think, fascinating for a lot of people because they can't imagine ever going to that place. They can't imagine why someone would be so cruel to someone on the flip of a switch or the turn of a dime. I can never, in my mind, imagine going after a young child and being harmful to a child. I can never imagine being that much of a monster, being that evil. It's not in my nature. I can't wrap my head around it. I get no thrill from it. It's not something. In fact, it abhors me to look at it or to think of it. In my mind, I try to wrap my head around it and try to figure out why. That's what keeps me going with it. Why? And if I can figure out why, then you can figure out how to solve the puzzle, so to speak, how to treat it, how to get it back to normal. You would think, wouldn't you? I need to know from your perspective, because you are former law enforcement. Do you think that it's treatable, or do you think there's truly good and evil and that's just all there is to it?
Up to a point, I think that there are a lot of behaviors that are treatable. In these situations, what's more compelling is to kind of get into the human mind and figure out the thought process in order to solve the crime. Generally, I know it's a little off topic, but I'll see if I can't bring it around. One of my favorite authors and investigators is a gentleman named Bob Keppel. Mm-hmm. And Bob Keppel was the primary investigator on the Ted Bundy murders. Okay. Or he obviously, I think most people, most of your listeners would know the Bundy case. He also utilized Ted Bundy when he was investigating the Gary Ridgway murders, the Green River killers, mm-hmm. and kind of got into Bundy's psyche to see if they could solve that Green River case and what that individual would be looking like. Bob wrote a book called Riverman, and that was when he utilized Bundy. And Clearly, Bundy took advantage of that situation, but it's kind of who's taking advantage of who to get into their minds. And one of the things that I have found is when you try and understand these individuals, there's no logic. Okay. There is no logic when they're reacting and doing these things. The individuals that abducted and murdered Anne just grabbed her off the street and thought they were going to take her. They were going to rape her. They originally were just going to rob her because she was at the end of her driveway. She had her purse and her books and her flute sitting there, and they were going to grab her purse. Then one of the guys decided, no, he'd rather have her, jumped out, took her. And their reasoning for murdering her was, well, she's seen us. We don't want to go to jail for rape, so we'll kill her. Well, now you've murdered her. How are you going to get out of this? And again, there's no forethought into what they're doing. It's very reactive in these types of crimes. And you even see that in killers like Bundy, like Jeffrey Dahmer, a lot of them where it's the thrill of the moment. It's instant gratification, and there's no planning or forethought into this. And then once they get into it, they have a tendency to think that they're smarter than anybody else. A lot of times there have been several cases where they've said, I'm the smartest person in the room. And obviously they're not the smartest person in the room because sooner or later the cases get solved. But there isn't a lot of I think we have a tendency to give them too much credit for being smarter than they are. There's not a lot of intelligence in it. It seems to be more that very lower hierarchy of needs, that I need the instant gratification or something in the moment. And they don't plan out, well, if I do X, then Y is going to occur. You have a tendency, if you look at that, you don't see it a lot of times, that there isn't the conscious, well, if I grab this girl and I kidnap her and I take her 10 minutes away, I better murder her. And then what are the ramifications of that? And now that I've been caught, oh my goodness, you're going to punish me for this. There isn't that forethought in the process. I
don't know, Marla, that I give them credit for being smart. It's the behavior and it's the randomness of the behavior that's intriguing. That's what's intriguing as to how the plan is thought out and why it is or isn't as similar to other criminals as it is to them. You know what I'm saying? Drawing the parallels to other cases and other killers. That's what's intriguing. By all means, they're not Einstein.
Oh, no.
We do a segment in this program called Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals after our interviews. There's a reason it's called Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. Nobody here is getting their doctorate by any means. And there's a reason they're caught. It's because they always leave something behind.
Absolutely. You know. I think that it's not knowing what their compulsion is. And if there's one, is there some common denominator in those? And I guess that's for people more learned than I, but I wish that we knew what that common denominator was. If it's, because in Anne's case, when you compare the two individuals, one we don't know a whole lot about. She is just kind of a born criminal, if you will. He enjoyed what he did. The other one came from a very, very good home with good parents. There wasn't anything that would be one significant incident that you could say, well, this triggered him or that triggered him. He just kind of got in with the wrong group and found his niche and liked being a car thief and a criminal. And so you would, in that instance, you would like to say, where's the common denominator here, or is there one? And I think you touched on it initially. There's just a sense of evil there that, I'm going to do this evil thing and I'm going to be able to get by with it and I'm going to get something out of it. And clearly, in the end, these individuals did not. But I think that's something we all want to see or hope to see. Is there something in these individuals that maybe down the road we can prevent? And I wish I knew the answer to that. I don't have the answer to that, but I think it's an intriguing idea that perhaps we can get in front of it. Although, going back to it, it's as old as time. I mean, you go back in biblical times, there was a rock and Cain didn't like Abel. And in that moment, decided without looking, there was no forethought into it. This is what I need to do, and did it. And, so it's always been there with us. Mm-hmm. And I think that exploring the topic, I think it's your program looking at these different cases kind of at least gives us an opportunity to make some sense of it, or sure, at least bring a conclusion to at least, if not all cases, at least individual cases, and say, okay, I understand how I heard about this. I understand how this happened. And suddenly this makes sense to me as a reader or a listener. Normal people, logical people that live lives that can't really relate, but as you said, can't ever imagine what that would be like in your own life. But I think part of that is to be able to remove ourselves and say, I can look at this from the outside and be an observer, be an informed observer in it, because we can't, the human mind really can't wrap itself around some of the horrific things that the guy or the man or the woman standing next to us in a line at the grocery store could possibly be capable of doing. I think it's foreign to us.
Yeah. Yep. I'll tell you what, Marla, at this point, we're going to take our break. When we come back, let's talk about the two individuals and how this whole thing started. When we get back, the two offenders in this story, that's Michael Taylor and Roderick Nunley. We'll talk about them. You mentioned a little bit about one having a privileged background or upbringing, the other not so much, and how they, even though they come from different backgrounds, yet we come to the same conclusion or the same career choice, put it that way, and how the two of them come across Ann Harrison and how our story picks up from there. We'll go through what this story is and how ironic of a story it is, because as you mentioned also in the first part of the program, Ann Harrison really was where she was supposed to be at the time, just doing what she was supposed to do, and that is getting ready to go to school. I mean, it's as simple as that. She went out to a bus stop, which was right in front of her house.
Exactly.
And in that moment, tragedy ensues, which you would think would just is the last place it should happen. And I mean, she's literally out in front of her house. You talk about not having a cosmic answer for something. That's something you would just not have a cosmic answer for. So when we come back, we'll talk about the two offenders. We'll talk about Ann Harrison, and we'll talk about exactly what happened on that fateful day and some of the consequences of what happened after that fateful day and why the justice system failed Ann Harrison for so long. That'll come up next. Again, the book, what we're talking about is By the Side of the Road, the true story of the abduction and murder of Ann Harrison. Available now, I believe, right? Right, Marla?
Yes, yeah. On Amazon.
On Amazon. It's out by Wild Blue Press. That's the publisher. We'll have a link in the description of the show. Go check it out while we're in the break. And when we come back, we'll talk more about that fateful day right here on the Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Our guest is Marla Bernard. She's the author of By the Side of the Road, the true story of the abduction and murder of Ann Harrison. Before the break, Marla, we were talking about the two offenders in our story, and we were also talking about Ann Harrison and how she really was in the right place where she was supposed to be at the right time, and that was at the school bus stop, waiting to get the school bus to go to school. Tell us a little bit about, let's get into the story itself, about our two offenders in the story, who they are, what they were doing that got them to Ann's side of town, because that's not even where they were supposed to be, and how they run across Ann and what happens from there.
Taylor and Nunley were career car thieves in Kansas City, and they had been out all night looking for auto parts to steal. And at that time, the popular car accessory was called a T-top. And they were stealing those. They had stolen two vehicles from roughly the same apartment complex in Grandview, Missouri, which is a suburb of Kansas City, maybe 8 minutes from Ann's house on the east side of Kansas City. And they were in one of the stolen vehicles. They were driving around, killing time, waiting, looking for other opportunities, other vehicles to break into. And they were waiting for the auto parts store, which I use that term loosely. It was called a chop shop.
Yeah.
And they would sell stolen items and or get drugs. So the place that was taking these auto parts was also dealing drugs. And so they could get one, the other, or both. And then they'd go about their business and use more drugs to steal more cars, to get more drugs, to have a good time. And they were just driving around the city. And about 3:00 in the morning, they were driving through another suburb, which is just close by. They're all just interconnected. It's just kind of like around the edges of a circle, Kansas City being the circle, a city called Lee Summit. And the stolen vehicle had a tail light out, and the Lee Summit police officer saw him, was attempting to pull him over just because of the tail light. And Nunley always insisted on being the driver. They got into speeds up to in excess of 90 miles an hour trying to avoid this officer who just wanted to stop him for a taillight. When they got to the edge of the city limits, he had to discontinue the chase because it was only a taillight. It was nothing that would cause him to be able to pursue the vehicle into the Kansas city limits. Had he been able to do that, he would have found that Michael Taylor had escaped from a halfway house. He was on probation, had violated his probation, needed to go back to jail, that Roderick Nunley was a suspect in 2 murders, neither of which was able to be pinned on him, but he did have some outstanding warrants, and they might have gone to jail, and that would have been the end of the story. And so as you talk about karma and the cosmic things that influence a case. It was one of those situations where they just literally got by, and in their stolen car. That was early in the morning on March 22nd, about 7 o'clock in the morning on March 22nd. Ann Harrison got up to go out 65 feet from her own front door, standing at the curb waiting for the school bus. Her purse, her flute, her books were there on the sidewalk next to her. These two individuals just killing time, driving around the neighborhood, a neighborhood that is not a through street anywhere. It's just a side street. Came upon Ann, saw her purse. Michael Taylor was supposed to jump out of the car and grab her purse. Instead, he decided, for whatever reason, that it would be more fun to grab Ann. Left the purse, left all her belongings, anything that they could have, I don't know that she had money, but her flute was something of value they could have stolen. Mm-hmm. They kidnapped her, took her to Nunley's mother's home, where she was raped, tortured, and murdered, and then placed in the trunk of one of those stolen vehicles, and dumped in an adjacent neighborhood, not too far from where the murder occurred. Nunley driving the vehicle with Ann in the trunk, and Taylor following in the other stolen car that they had gotten that morning. So that's how they came about coming in contact with Ann. But again, they were just out looking for things to steal, but knew that they had outstanding warrants, did not know why the officer was trying to stop them, and they decided that they would run from him, and they did.
And again, it's one of those things, decision upon bad decision, and it gets you to a point where you're at the point of no return.
Exactly.
And in this synopsis that you just give us, there are a few bad decisions that we should break down here for our audience, that people may go, well, wait a minute, well, why do that? Why do that? And there's some interesting things in the book that we'll leave some of them to the book for people to read. Other things I think we should probably discuss here. When I believe you said it was Michael Taylor, the one who's riding shotgun and grabs Ann.
Yes.
And there's what's not necessarily controversial. He says it himself. He'd never been with a white woman. He's African American. And he decides, well, I'm going to take it one step further.
Yeah, and I don't think in that instant he made that comment at a party. He made it later, and Nunley verified it. Actually, also the individual who was the tips caller, who was a friend of theirs. And it just seems so odd to use words like friend and gentleman and whatever. They're all kind of, there's an honor among thieves, I guess. I think that just her being, I think in that split second, person, and he opted to forego the person or the purse and go for the person at that moment. I don't know that he was what his thought processes were when they took her, you think, she had just turned 15 years old. Yeah. Her birthday was like two weeks before. And she had despite everything that she went through, because they literally made her crawl on her hands and knees, and she was abused and violated, but she kept her wits about her in a manner that I would like to think that I would be able to do, but I honestly, I'm not sure I would. She tried to negotiate with them and said, she's just from an average middle class family, but she said, if you call my parents, I'll give you a phone number. They will give you money if you let me go. And she was processing this and thinking what I think is well beyond her years to try and negotiate with them. But and they even said they took the phone number. They had no intention of calling or letting her go because she had seen them and they had outstanding warrants and they didn't want to go to jail for the lesser offense. So they thought they were going to literally get by with murder by killing her. And so it kind of speaks a comparison between somebody so young and thinking through the process, and they were just reactive and not thinking through the process at all, not seeing down the road. And she was trying to figure that out, which I thought was kind of an interesting dynamic between the two. Here's someone in a panic, thinking. The other one's pretty laid back, one of whom had possibly, we think, committed two other murders and continued to be very violent, even in the prison system long after his arrest. And so it's kind of an interesting look at when someone does put some thought into it, and that in the moment you can think through things and you can give it some serious consideration. She was trying to actually, save her own life at 15 years old and really anticipate what's my next move here. And obviously it was for naught, but I think that's kind of an interesting comparison between the three individuals in the story.
I think even more so, if I can expound on your point and maybe just throw my own conjecture in it, I think it might have been too, on Anne's part, coming from a law enforcement family, her uncle being in law enforcement as well, thinking maybe if I can just get these guys to stall, if I can just get them to, put something in their heads, because obviously they're looking for money. That's their deal. They're looking for money. Maybe if I can turn them on to the fact that there may be more money here and
exactly
get them off of me, and I can tip off my parents who are in law enforcement, they'll give up themselves. They're not all that bright. Maybe they will be able to start talking to my parents who know more than I do, that they'll be able to come to my rescue. They'll figure it out.
Exactly.
So she's thinking where they're not. They're going with the flow. They're liable to do whatever they wish at whatever time. But she's maybe giving them too much credit. She's giving them too much credit as being focused on one thing, and that is a love of money.
Exactly.
And the fact that they picked her, and she's not thinking that, well, you know what, they never picked up her purse or her flute, which was worth money. They never grabbed anything but her. And I think had she thought about that one detail, she would have fought her way or try, rather than, I'm not saying she willingly went anywhere. She didn't. But had she thought of that, she might have been looking for, because there are details in the book that suggest she was trying to fight her way out of the car that she was being held in. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, they confirmed that she did try and fight, but it was just a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
Because they were able to get on the interstate very quickly, got to Nunley's mother's home, and were able to, take the car down the driveway, hide it behind the house, and get her into the house. So it was just a matter of minutes. But she did go with them unwillingly and fought throughout the ride as best she could. Taylor, in his statement and confirmed by Nunley, who was driving, they forced her down onto the floor, head first, down under the dash on the passenger side. So she did the best she could for just an average girl. I think she was 5'7", 130 pounds, but she fought as best she could, but then was, I think, wise enough to try, when she was in the house, to not fight them off, because clearly she would not have been successful or been able to escape from the room that she was in at the time.
Okay. Well, my mistake then. My mistake.
Oh, no.
I think when it comes to the situation, I don't know where there would be any shades of gray. There are no shades of gray in here. There just aren't. These were two bad guys that were looking to get into trouble. They already were in trouble. They had already stolen car parts. They were already out looking for trouble. They had already grabbed Ann. They had already, when they got her to the house, this is the other detail I think we're leaving out. When they decide at this point that, they're kind of laughing at the number that she's passed them, and just have decided, you know what, she's not getting out of here alive. She's seen us. And they haven't figured out in their heads, I mean, neither one of them being lawyers or that smart, again, that had they figured out, well, if she saw us and turned us in, we'd be serving less time,
correct.
Congruently than if we killed her, which is going to get us the chair, or not necessarily the chair, but lethal injection. Then, you know what? We're probably better off just having her tie us both up with cables and lead us into the police station than we are, killing her.
Well, and, they went right back out without missing a beat and started stealing cars again. And I think in the book, I give some examples of where the law enforcement in Kansas City and in the outlying areas, they're finding all these vehicles day after day after day that fit the MO of what Nunley did in his car break-ins. He was a suspect early on. They didn't have anything to tie him to any of this in the first days, but the way that he broke in, the method in which he would pop the lock on the driver's side of a vehicle, the way he would take the dome light out, the way that he would take the ashtray and the radio, and certain things that he would do. He was known in the auto theft unit because of these car thefts. And it was a method that he had taught Michael Taylor and had taught some other companions of his on how to break into a vehicle. But it was definitely his style. He had also robbed. They had done some individuals that they'd see again in a parking lot. There were a couple of cases in parking lots or by the side of the street where they'd pull up. The goal was to steal a purse and or rob the individual and then move on. And it was actually one of those cases where Nunley had another individual with him, didn't have Michael Taylor with him, had another individual. And that individual was actually the person that turned them in on the TIPS hotline because he wanted the money. But his undoing was he got $9,000 for it. Mm-hmm. But his undoing was when they interviewed Roderick Nunley, he said, oh, yeah, well, he was with me one time. And here's what we did. We saw this elderly lady in a parking lot of a restaurant. He knocked her down. She broke her hip. He didn't know that she had broken her hip. The investigators, with the Independence Police Department, when they got the information, put the case together, found an open case, found that this man named Kareem Hurley was involved in that case, and he ended up spending his $9,000 of tips money on a lawyer because he got arrested for that particular case. So it's they're all kind of linked together, but it was validation that Nunley said, oh, yes, we've done these crimes and here's what we've done. And this is the method that we used. And we just went about our business, even though we had just murdered this little girl, left her in a stolen car at the side of the road. We went on about our business, and our business was breaking into cars and to get drugs, to get money, to break into cars, to get drugs. And the cycle kind of continued.
And, what's interesting here, Marla, is when they're arrested, there's not a lot of remorse there. There's not a lot of, we're sorry, or no. There's not a lot of, it's just kind of like, we did what we had to do because, she would have identified us, which is asinine.
Well, they were guilty, but there wasn't any guilt.
Right.
So, it just, they were very nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, we stole a T-top, threw it in the back of the car, we grabbed a girl, we threw her in the trunk of a car, and they just moved on. And I don't mean to make that sound, it just is, from my perspective, for me saying that, it was just kind of an average thing. But that's, when you look at this case, that's their behavior. That is how they were. And it was, I think the most emotion that they showed is when Taylor, when they got the tips call and they were able to connect Taylor and Nunley, and they interviewed Taylor and he confessed. He blamed it. Of course, they blamed the majority of it on it was the other one's idea. They pointed fingers back and forth. And when they arrested Nunley, and he said, oh, Michael he'd never say that about me. He'd never do that. And they showed him the video. And he was like, oh, stand back, hold my water cup here. Yeah. I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
And then told what occurred, and Nunley's version of what happened really was the most accurate version, because Michael Taylor said, oh no, it was his fault, and he grabbed the girl and he did whatever. And we know that Nunley was driving. Nunley was obsessive about whenever he went out to commit a crime with anyone else, he had to drive the vehicle. He was absolutely, compulsive about being the one in control of the vehicle at all times. So we know that Taylor grabbed her. We know by the evidence, by the DNA, by everything that transpired, and of course in their own words, because that was the thing that I really wanted to stress in the book. This is in their own words. This is absolutely what was transcribed, what was videotaped, what they stated in court, and how it actually went down. But yeah, they turned on each other and very, very quickly.
And the one thing that's amazing to me, absolutely amazing to me, is through every single step of being arrested, of being explained their rights, of being explained everything throughout the process multiple times. They didn't just explain it to them once and then walk away and hope they'd get the meaning of what was being done to them or done for them or being led through the process. They were told, this is what you're admitting to. All right. Be aware. This is what you're admitting to. Do you need a lawyer? You're giving up your rights to this. You're giving up your rights to that. Oh, no. I'll fully tell you what's going on right now. And then they'd ask for a lawyer,
Oh, absolutely. And you have to remember, these are career criminals. These are guys that are not unfamiliar with the criminal justice system.
Right.
They have, Taylor was supposed to be on probation and had been at a halfway house and had escaped and was pretty good at that as well, because when he was in police custody, or actually in correctional custody, was taken to the county hospital here, had to go for a doctor's visit, and had stolen a tool off of a maintenance cart in the correctional facility that they left unattended, and he was able to escape custody from the correctional officer that he had taken. Now, he was only gone for about an hour. They were able to find him, but he had escaped their custody again. And so kind of knew what to anticipate, knew where they were going to take him, how they were going to behave, what the drill was, so to speak, because they had both served time and were out for, reasons that, they weren't able to charge Nunley, but they were able to keep track of him because he would, he'd post bond or get out without a bond. And, while he was awaiting trial, he'd go about his business and commit more crimes because I guess, in their minds, they must have figured, well, if I'm going to go to jail, I might as well be doing this. They've already caught me on one thing and they haven't taken me to trial yet. So while I'm out here, I might as well, go about my daily business.
Well, that and drugs don't grow on plants. Well, they do, but yeah. But they got to be procured somehow. So, what I find fascinating, Marla, is the entire time they're saying one thing and they're doing another, and they're saying one thing and then they're filing for another thing, and they're it's the whole thing is hypocrisy personified. It's the what do you want to call the syndrome? You want to call it poor me syndrome. It's well, I'm the persecuted one here, but I'm the one who committed the crime. I'm and I did it with no remorse. But poor me.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for committing the crime, but golly, I feel really bad that I got caught. And, now I'm feeling sorry for myself, or now there's some recriminations because of the fact that I got caught. I don't feel bad for doing it, but I feel bad now because now I'm in trouble, and trouble they were in.
Yeah.
Once they found that they were, going to face the death penalty in Missouri, which is something that they were hedging their bets and thinking, nah, I'm safer going in front of a judge than a jury, and we'll see what happens. And I don't think anticipating that they were actually going to receive a death sentence.
Which is curious because they were explained to multiple times, if you go in front of a judge, the judge is probably going to rule in favor of a death penalty. And it's the judge's decision alone versus going in front of a jury. And the odds are probably better for you to go in front of a jury because the jury has to, if someone has just even a little bit of doubt, even just a little bit of a doubt, then certain charges may be reduced or thrown out, or, you have a better chance with a jury than with a judge. A judge is going to hear everything and make a ruling, and not only ruling, but sentencing. So it's all in the judge's court, so to speak, right? It's all in the judge's favor to be able to do what he sees fit or she sees fit based on the evidence weighed, as I understand it from reading it, correct?
Well, I think that their fear was if there's a parent on that jury, if they're in, the likelihood of people being parents, or the likelihood of them putting themselves in Anne's situation. Oh, there, but for the grace of God, that could have happened to me, or that could have happened to my child, or my sister, or someone that I know. I think they were thinking that there'd be less emotion with a judge, which is kind of odd because, they're human just like anybody else. Yeah. And, I think they were anticipating that when the judge would charge the jury to look at the case and say this was a capital case, and they felt that perhaps the judge would give them a lesser sentence, would charge them and not see this as a death penalty case. But because of when you stack all of the factors on there, you've got a murder, but you've got it in a murder in connection with a kidnapping or a rape or an attempted robbery. And you had all of these things stacked layer upon layer upon layer. I think in this instance, either way they would have gone, had they gone with a jury trial or a bench trial, which is what they ultimately did. I think the outcome would have been the same. When you look at all of the factors, I don't think they saw that.
The one thing that confused me a little bit, but I understand it reading it in the book, is that the best a judge could do for you on the multiple layered charges that are there. And I don't know why this is. And this is why I'm glad we kind of have a little bit of time to talk. Is that a judge could sentence, you have the murder, you had the rape, you had the assault, you have the different charges there. If a judge says, if it's up to a judge's ruling and the judge says, okay, I'm going to sentence you concurrently, so everything's served at the same time, the clock can run out and you can actually serve the other sentences and get out of the death penalty? How does that work?
In their instance, it was that they weren't layered, so they'd serve them concurrently. It was because of the murder and the mitigating factors where they layer upon layer upon layer on top of it, rather than having them be consecutive. And I talk about it in the book. If you go back and you look at the sentencing guidelines that there were in Missouri at the time, had they not killed Anne, had they kidnapped her and raped her, even at laying on the attempted robbery and all the other things, and they were in a stolen vehicle, and they layer it on because they know that at some point the charges can get broken down. They would have been out of prison, possibly been out of prison before they were executed. It would have all been, they'd have done their time and been out. But they didn't see it that way, and they chose to kill her. So those mitigating factors added on gave the judge the ability to charge them with a capital offense.
But there's no way if those charges were added on to a death sentence and then served consecutively, there's no possible way you could run out the clock and then be paroled without having served the death sentence. You have to be put to death.
In their case, they were hoping, when that was part of the appeals process, that they would that the courts would rule, when they did their appeals, that the courts would rule that, yes, they have life in prison, but we're going to adjust this and say life in prison without the possibility of parole, as opposed to the death sentence. And one of the things that I think was most interesting was they had really run out of their appeals, all the different things that they could have said. It was X, Y, or Z, had been visited, revisited, and ruled against them numerous times. And they kept going back with the same appeals over and over and over again. They weren't coming up with anything new. They weren't coming up with anything that had not been visited upon by the courts. They just were able to drag it out. And I think that's the most excruciating part of the process, is that they were able to drag it out for 26 years. And it would be, for Anne's family, it would be on again, off again. Okay, there's no, somebody make a decision and this is the end of it. It's the appeals process just goes on and on. I guess as long as there's an attorney that's willing to take it forward. When does that appeals process stop? When is enough? And either they're going to be there for the rest of their lives or they're going to be executed. But somebody make a decision and end the appeals process. And because you could come up with any subject that you want to take forward. And if you can get a court to hear their case, then, they can appeal on and on. Michael Taylor was convinced that he was not going to be executed. Even the night before his execution, he said, I'll be back they did executions at the prison in Bonne Terre, Missouri. He was being held in Potosi, Missouri, at that facility. He said, I'll be back there tomorrow morning eating breakfast. He was convinced that he was going to get yet another appeal, that the Supreme Court would grant another appeal. And it was, he was just going to ride this out, and, until he died of natural causes.
And that either takes a whole lot of denial or a whole lot of balls, one or the other, to say that, oh, yeah, I'm just going to, they're going to stay another execution. But he had precedents on his side to say that, you know what, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And they were, to your point, they were both cocky individuals. Nunley was violent in prison and actually attacked someone, a prison employee, who was trying to help him in the law library. But in my understanding is, in his twisted logic, he was concerned that with Taylor's case going for an appeal and being denied at one point, and at that time there would be more appeals, but at that particular point in time, he was concerned, and his logic was, if I attack somebody while I'm in prison, they will have to investigate that case, and that will drag out in the courts. So even if Taylor's appeal doesn't get heard and granted, if I don't have any more, if I commit yet another crime, they're going to have to investigate that one, and I can drag this out even farther. And the unfortunate part is, that individual, again, was just doing his job, trying to help, and was severely, severely injured by Nunley, who had crafted a shank out of materials that he had in jail, in his that he had access to. And I think that's another, that was a misnomer, that people think you're in 23-hour lockdown when you're on death row. And in Missouri, and we were the only state that had this, you were not in any sort of lockdown or on a specific unit with just other people on death row. They were in the general population. They had access to anything that anybody in general population had access to. And that was also kind of eye-opening for me, that, the amount of drugs and paraphernalia and things that they have access to in prison. But that's why he was able to do that, create a weapon of sorts and injure that individual, because in his flawed thinking, he was going to drag the process out even longer.
And see, I would think the opposite. I would think that case wouldn't mean a hill of beans to a capital punishment decision, where you could be called at any time to show up and get a lethal injection and you're done. Because that takes precedence over everything. That's the ultimate decision.
Logically, yes.
Logically, that takes precedence over any other sentence you have.
But again, we're using the L word. We're using logic and common sense, and you can say it just. Despite the fact that he had been sitting in prison, he had access to legal resources. He had access to a library. He had people willing to help him, including his victim at the prison. Logic doesn't enter into it. It's that reaction. It's just that reactive mode that they're in, that, hey, maybe this will work. So I think I'll get up tomorrow morning and I'll stab this guy. And, there just is not that process that we would like to believe is there. Unfortunately, history shows us it just isn't always the case. Well, and certainly in Nunley's flawed thinking, that's how that went down.
Wouldn't you have loved to have been the legal Jiminy Cricket sitting on Roderick Nunley's shoulder right before he goes to stab that worker and say, hey, wait a minute, let's think about this logically. Let's think about how much you cost the taxpayers sitting here in prison. Okay. And let's figure out if you really want to commit another crime or not. Because if you do, what are they going to do first? Are they going to investigate this crime, or are they going to hurry up your execution? Because I guarantee you're costing them a lot of money every day by dragging out another investigation on another crime. So would they rather kill you first and save the money, or would they rather spend the money and investigate another case?
Exactly. And I think, to use it as much as, the cartoon analogy, I think rather than getting a Jiminy Cricket, it goes back to those like Tom and Jerry cartoons we'd see where there'd be like the person with the halo on one shoulder and the one with the horns on the other, and they're whispering in their ears, and who's the louder one. And in these instances, I think the one with the pitchfork was the louder one, and or at least that's all he was willing to listen to at that point. Is it goes back to good and evil. 2 4-letter words that we look at, and you think about that, and he couldn't get any farther down the road than, hey, I think I'll just do this today. And that kind of was in their wheelhouse. I'll commit a crime. If I commit a crime, I've done all these things and I never got caught. But rather than stepping back and saying, but the one that I got caught for was, that was the big one. And, he just, I guess, couldn't wrap his head around that.
Yeah. By the Side of the Road, the true story of the abduction and murder of Ann Harrison is the name of the book that we're talking about. Marla Bernard is our guest. As we're winding things down here, Marla, I want to talk a little bit about the effects on others. Not just the main players in this case, but the effects on others. The effects on not just Ann and Nunley and Taylor, but on the Harrisons, on the Harrison family. You do a wonderful job in this book of getting the story across as to what it does each and every time that there's an appeal on the death sentence. Just conveying that trip to go be a witness each time that they're about to do the injection. You pointed out that the Harrisons themselves didn't go the first couple of times. But they, friends went in their stead, that there's these friends that show up to be supportive, to make sure that the job is done, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That relatives are there, that the entire town gets together and puts together a softball tournament in Ann's name to raise money for missing and exploited children. That after 25 years after Ann has been killed, the Harrisons respectfully ask if they can, shut it down. It's the ancillary things around Ann's death that it seems like there's just these waves that it's not the ripple in the pond. This is a tsunami that
exactly
that swallows up the entire area. Everything from, like you point out in the book, the people that don't know quite how to address the Harrisons in the supermarket, without mentioning Ann, the uncomfortableness, because they feel the affection for Ann too, but it's hard. It's hard to say, I'm sorry, or it's hard to say, how are you doing? Or it's hard to find words without bringing it up. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. And, I can speak to it from a personal perspective, from a couple of different angles. About 8 years ago, I wrote a book called Through the Rain, which was about the impact that two separate child murders here in Kansas City had on my family. Because my husband was the chief investigator. One of them, the little girl, was drowned in the bathtub by her stepfather because she didn't say her ABCs correctly.
Oh my God.
And her body, the mother was complicit. They ended up shoving her in a Rubbermaid container, putting concrete on top of her, driving to California with a couple of their other children, dumping her in the California desert. And my husband, David, was able to get a conviction without a body. Long story, but the other case was a little girl who was, her body was found in a wooded area in a trash pile. The body had been decapitated, and it took them 4 years to identify her. And just knowing what my family went through, just on the fringes of this, because of how it affected my husband, you forget what, in having seen those crime scene photos, what it does to the psyche of those individuals, from the dispatcher that takes the call to the crime scene technicians to the reporter. When they found the little girl's head in the woods, there was actually a reporter on the scene, a young girl who was really affected by the case very negatively. It took a huge toll on her. So in the Harrison case, it's the same thing. The detectives that I interviewed, when I interviewed one of them, and this was in 1989 that they investigated this. I did his interview 2 years ago. He broke down and cried. Oh, yeah. And for me, that was one of the hardest interviews I've done. And tying it back to the Harrisons, we're very close friends of the Harrisons. And it was when I wrote that book that Bob Harrison had read it, and he said, "Oh, I know a book you can write," meaning Ann's case. And I thought, well, what an honor, for them to say that to me. But by far, the hardest thing for me to do was to talk to them about it. Now, we had dinner with them last Monday night. It's still hard for me to talk to them about it because I don't know what to say. I don't want to open those wounds. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I know them so well and really would honestly take a bullet for either one of them. But it is hard. It is very hard to ask questions. And they are always so gracious and so open. And I will tell you, Janelle has not read the book. Okay. Probably will not read the book. She's said to me, because of the fact that there are things that maybe she doesn't recall or has not thought about for a long time. Bob has read the book. His family's read the book. And again, it is a huge privilege. But for me, knowing them as well as I do, still kind of like stumbling and fumbling and not knowing how to broach something, I can understand how, what do you say to someone that has been through this other than, I'm sorry for your loss, and I understand she was a wonderful person, and thank you for all you've done to keep her memory alive. And that really was the thrust of the book, was just to try and keep her memory alive. But it does affect the community. People still remember it. I think it was every parent's worst nightmare. The thing that, it's kind of like the monster under the bed, the thing that you're afraid of, keeping your children safe. And just having your child disappear. I mean, it absolutely rocked this community. And if you say Ann Harrison or the Ann Harrison case, people will go, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember hearing about that. I remember telling my kids this, that, or the other. And so I know Ann was 15, and when our daughter was growing up, it may sound a little strange because now they have little levers in the trunk of a car. But I remember telling both my kids, God forbid that something like that would happen. But if it would, you kick the tail light out. Here's how you get out of the trunk of a car.
Yep.
What a thing to have to tell your children. But it was truly a loss of innocence.
Yeah.
That, Elizabeth Smart's another case where you think of that. She was polyclass, these ones where it's just absolutely the unthinkable. And it changes the way you behave. It changes what you do as a mom. I did fingerprint days at the grade schools for my kids, headed those up. Let's get your kids fingerprinted. It rocks a community. There is that cascade effect that you described, that it touches a lot of lives that you don't anticipate. And it kind of, you look at the world a little differently. It is, as you described, very black and white. There aren't a lot of gray areas. You're safe or you're not. It's one way or the other. Do you have a hold of your child's hand, or do you hold it a little bit tighter? Do you look at people a little differently than you did before that occurred? So yeah, it absolutely affects people.
This may seem like an odd question. It doesn't come from a negative source, so don't take it that way. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate how important it was to get the Harrisons' approval on this book, especially Bob's, once it's been read?
For me, it was a 10. I really, really wanted their approval because just the reassurance of knowing that I did justice to Anne.
Okay.
That she was treated with the level of respect, and that I covered everything accurately, and also for the validation that the reader would get an accurate story, that it was it was very, very much something that they would read and be able to take with them, knowing that, yes, this is what happened. This is exactly what happened. This is what was observed. These are the things that occurred. Keeping Anne alive, and also all of the efforts that people put forth, the girls on the softball team and her friends and the community that put so much effort into ensuring that there was something good that came out of this, because that was healing for them as well, and making sure that those things were accurately portrayed. There's a saying, I've read it attributed to Native American lore. I've read it attributed to the Egyptians. There's a saying, and I hope I don't botch this, Tim, that when the last person that knows your name says, the last person on earth that knows your name says it for the last time, that is the meaning of death. And so I was hoping that by memorializing her in this book, that maybe we can delay that and keep her alive, give her a little more life. And all of these people, give victims a voice. I think that is so important because she lost her voice. And if we can give them a voice for a little longer, I think that was my motivation for doing this, and making sure that the Harrison said that the voice sounded like Anne's was my goal in this. So,
amen to that.
I hope that answered your question.
That answered it perfectly. Just one other quick deal, and then I got a quick question / comment about the afterword, which I love the afterword in this book, by the way.
Thank you.
There's a small section at the end of the book, and it had to do with the ACLU and going after the witnesses of executions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a disturbing chapter in this, and it happened before the second execution, and that being the execution of not Michael Taylor, but
Nunley.
yeah,
Roderick
Nunley. Thank you. I almost called him Hunley, but it's Nunley.
Yeah.
And it was at that time. It was definitely a desperate play on Nunley's part to try and shake things up, and you could sense that. And they were kind of going off. You could say a little half baked, a little half cocked, trying to throw a monkey wrench in things. And they used something called the Sunshine Law.
Yes.
To try and get, for lack of a better term, to try and get the witnesses listed for the last year of executions. Mm-hmm. Everything down to from home addresses to phone numbers to whatever they could get information on those witnesses, claiming it was public record. And that it should be public record. And in no way should they be public record. It should be a protected record. I don't see any reason why it should be a public record. Explain to us in your words why the ACLU, why would the ACLU say that should be public record?
Well, the interesting part of that was when the individual from the ACLU who was requesting the information, this was in court under oath, when asked, what are you going to do with the information? He said, well, I don't know. And I think that was the thing that irritated me the most is, come up with an articulate reason. You're right. Sitting next to a judge. Can you do a little better than that? It needs to be private information, because even if you don't have a public witness, an individual that is there on behalf of the state as a witness, they use people from the correctional facility mm-hmm. who are there. And if you were to disclose that information, then a potential bad guy, if you will, someone who wanted to retaliate against a prison guard, for instance, would have access to that information and might possibly go after their family or do something against them just for, not getting their meal tray when they wanted it or whatever. So that information needs to be private. They actually had, when the director of corrections was there, testifying, actually had an incident that had occurred. At that time, it was a contemporary incident where someone was injured because of information being disclosed. So it is a huge safety issue and really isn't something that should be made available, although you can Now for $15 on your credit card, you can go out and Google information, whether or not it's totally accurate. One has to question how accurate or how current the information is. You can get a lot of information on people, but why give criminals potentially access to this information to use it for what you would have to say is a potential criminal offense? They're obviously not looking to update their Christmas card list.
No, not at all.
So it was just another one of those incidents where the Harrisons should not have had to have gone through that.
Right.
And testified, and their personal information, just by virtue of the fact that they were the parents of the victim and could possibly have been a witness. And up to that point, neither one had been, just by virtue of being victims, because they were victims as well. They were put through that. And had the ACLU been able to articulate what they would have done with that information, although one of the examples that they were finally able to exact from him is, well, I might go to where they work and talk to them about it. Well, that's kind of a veiled form of intimidation. Hey, I'm going to show up where you work and I'm going to ask you questions. And it's like, that's just not something that the family should have had to have gone through. It's
inviting a crime.
Exactly.
It's inviting witness intimidation and witness tampering. So I don't know why, as a legitimate organization, the ACLU would even invite that.
Well, and you have to question, why would the court entertain hearing that argument?
Exactly.
But a lot of times, and this is not my feeling about the ACLU, but a lot of times when you get something on their letterhead, there are certain organizations that it garners more attention than it would for the private individual. And in this instance, it did. And it caused a lot of people to have to make a trip to Jefferson City for, a reason that they couldn't clearly articulate at that time.
True. Real quick before the end of this segment here, Marla, I love the afterword in this book. Just want to cite one quick passage in it. You're talking about the unexplainable when it comes to abduction and murder of an innocent young girl. And you get down to the basics of good and evil. And you talk about how good is an organic part of the universe and how evil really does come from man. How evil is something, evil is something that we've created from free will. And it's a choice. Evil really is a choice. I'm phrasing it the way that I interpreted it. I know there's more to it. I'm kind of, but I'll read from what you put down here. You put a quote out there from Thomas Aquinas, where he says good can exist without evil, whereas evil cannot exist without good. Conversely, good can live independently with nothing counter to sustain it. It allows us to take comfort in knowing that good continues to exist, even if it is often overshadowed by evil. Like water and air, evil is clear, colorless, formless, with no sense of taste or smell to warn us of its presence. Yet as air and water are essential to life, evil brings with it actions that can cause the termination of life, the cessation of happiness, the end of much goodness. Its companions are deadly sins, broken commandments, violated laws. And you say, for myself, evil is like a thin piece of glass, offering no warning as we come upon it, stopping us in our tracks when we try to pass through it. When it shatters from the weight of our being, it cuts us with the vainest slivers, leaving us to bleed, whether literally, as in Anne's case, or figuratively, carving pain into our very souls, which is quite poetic, yet quite true. And then the next part, again, and this is where I'll leave it. The learned will argue that God did not create evil, only good, and that evil is a consequence of free will. As one who has remained close to this case for a very long time, I like that interpretation. I like it as well.
Thank you.
I love that interpretation.
And you mentioned that we talk about evil and that man, that's something that we bring into this. I wish we didn't, but we do. There was number of years ago, I don't recall now if it was the Dayton Zoo, a zoo, we'll just put it that way, had an exhibit, and it was called the Scariest Animal in the Jungle, I believe. And it was a mirror. Mm-hmm. And it was, we have such powers for good. And if we can harness those for peaceful purposes, life is wonderful. But unfortunately, every now and then, this ugliness kind of rises to the surface and has consequences that we can't anticipate, and we often can't wrap our minds around. And again, that's the thing that I really hoped in the book I was able to balance those scales of justice enough to say that, there are good things that can come of bad situations, that, the Harrisons were able to help Craig Hill here in Kansas City get the Center for Missing and Exploited Children off the ground, really makes a positive impact and leave a legacy. And, we can take a little comfort in that. And I think that's what I hope that you and the reader are able to do is even with the horrific story that's behind it, that's the genesis of this, take a little comfort in knowing that the case was solved and there were people that worked diligently to solve it, and people who embraced the family and the community and kind of hugged each other, if you will, and stood together because of Anne.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's more to the story, folks, than what we've actually told you in the time we've been sitting here. The book is By the Side of the Road, the true story of the abduction and murder of Anne Harrison. Marla Bernard has been our guest and the author of this book. It's available right now on Amazon.com. Wild Blue Press is the publisher of this book. We'll have links in the description of this show. Just go ahead, click that link, get that book. There's much, much more than what we've been describing to you here on the show. Marla, I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for your time. It has been most enjoyable, and I appreciate it.
I've had a great time as well. Folks, it's time to lighten it up just a bit. We're going to bring in Beer City Bruiser, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time everybody looks forward to on True Crime Tuesday. It is time for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals, and we need a co-host. Let's bring in the co-host with the most, the BCB, the Big Cuddly Bear, Beer City Bruiser. How you doing, Bruiser?
I'm doing fantastic, Cruiser, on this Tuesday, the True Crime Tuesday. I'm doing really good, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tired, long weekend, but
it was a long weekend. Those damn Vikings had me up at I think at the crack of dawn. I've never been up that early for a football game, I don't think.
But it was worth it.
No.
Come on.
No, it wasn't. I got to watch a bunch of clowns at a circus until the very end of the game, and it was still a bunch of clowns at a circus. You know, if you're going to get me up that early, kill the competition so I can take my nap and be happy.
Exactly.
Don't run around like a bunch of idiots who can't perform and then hope that the other team misses a field goal at the end of the game to win your game. That's ridiculous. It's irresponsible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me, my Packers did it, and I wasn't happy.
That's true. Yeah. And then you got
the Chiefs. The Chiefs kept me up last night.
Oh yeah, that game was.
It was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch, but hey, I mean, you don't let Brady back in at the end to tease him. You don't tease old men like that.
No, and again, not a sports show. We apologize.
Yeah.
There's two people that you want the ball in their hands when when their back's against the wall, and that's Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the score is.
Yep.
Like, they don't care.
No, they don't give two F's, so to speak. And
nope.
Yeah. And if for any opposing team this year in the NFL, whose ball you want in whose hands at the end of the game. You want it in Kirk Cousins' hands because he ain't going to do shit with it. That's whose hands you want it in. You know what he's going to do? He's going to take the ball, he's going to lay down, have a nap, and he'll fumble it for you and give it right back to you.
He sure will.
That goddamn useless dumbass.
Oh, I got to tell you, too, and I got to thank the listeners out there. In fact, I'm going to look up this person's name because they sent me a picture through Messenger because of our conversation we've been having and how fired up you get over certain things.
Oh, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's why I had a heart attack. Maybe I need to relax a little.
It was Tim Johnson who sent me this.
Oh, yes, Tim Johnson.
I don't know if you can see it.
A little closer. Oh, yes, the seal. Yeah, he sent that to me too, yeah. Seal on a microphone. I am on the winning side of this argument. I've had more people come to me and say, that song is trash. It's trash.
And I've had quite the opposite coming up to me saying they love it.
Well,
it's a ballad.
Because they're not
one
going to.
Couple I met this last weekend, it was their wedding song.
Well, it's probably because they're divorced now. But they come to you because for a guy whose motto is it's mouth punching time, they're not going to come up to you and go, guess what, Bruiser? It's a trash song because they know what's coming if they say that to you.
I won't punch it. Everyone has a right to their own opinion, even when it's wrong.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, I'm not going to come up to a guy whose motto is it's mouth punching time and go, guess what, Bruiser? I hate Seal.
You'd be surprised, Tim. I have a lot it's liquid courage. Liquid courage.
By the way, I am going to see if you have a rant like I have weekly, not almost weekly. I pulled a story for you tomorrow, my friend, which will make you scream tomorrow. Just for you, I found this story, and I'll read it. I
can't wait. I love it. I love it.
I'll read it.
And I hope
tomorrow.
Everyone's entertained by our rants as how we get each other riled up.
Let's just say Sundays will be a little less enjoyable after you hear this story.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the meantime, it's Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, and ladies and gentlemen, we got her! That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, the Queen passed away. I know.
No, God, no, Bruiser. That's not, no.
Well, we won. Betty White was 99.
No.
Queen was 90.
No,
96?
God, no.
98.
That's horrible. You're talking about the death of a golden girl and a beloved queen? No.
I'm saying we won. America won.
No, that's not, no. No, I was talking about I'm talking about an arrest here. I'm talking about
okay. Yeah.
God, no, I'm not talking about death.
Queen never got arrested. Well,
not that I know.
Queen,
I don't know.
Not the band Queen. The band Queen probably did.
Do you want to know one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard in my life?
Sure.
And the man never gets enough credit for it. Probably it happened last season on Saturday Night Live. Everybody who says, "Oh, SNL hasn't been funny in years," doesn't know what they're talking about.
Okay.
last season on SNL. And yes, it's a Queen joke, so you're going to have to brace yourself. I know it's only been, she's not even cold yet, God forbid. But
she's been cold for years.
Oh, come on, come on.
Okay, I digress.
So they were talking about the Jubilee, of course, last year. Or in the winter. I'm sorry, it wasn't last year. It was during the winter, I believe it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said, the Queen is trying to recover from recent illnesses. Therefore, she's not going to be able to attend the Jubilee. In fact, they don't know if she'll be seen in the public eye for months. And Michael Che turns to the camera and says, "You know why she won't be seen in months? New titties." Which I thought was the greatest joke ever. And you can hear the crowd laughing, like 3/4 of the crowd laughing, and the other quarter going, "Oh, oh." Like, oh man, that's a 90-year-old woman you're talking about, but a 90-year-old woman with new titties. Like, that's a good joke, man. That's
I like that. That's classic.
That is a good joke. Only Michael Che. If it would have been Colin Jost who told it, it wouldn't have went over.
Exactly. Yeah, there's certain people that can get away with stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. But Michael Che, he tells it. It's a good joke. It's a good joke. And yeah, it hits you where you live, so to speak. So yeah, one of my favorite jokes of all time.
Oh, I'm going to steal it too. That's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
New titties. But yeah, Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. This week we got her. We finally got her. Keep that one in mind. We are going to talk a little football, but this kind of football you're probably going to get arrested for. It involves water sports.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Who wants to see Jeffrey Dahmer clearer? Evidently not Jeffrey Dahmer. We'll tell you what you can pick up on the open market. There's plenty of nakedness for some reason in Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals this week. We'll talk naked. And plenty of NFL. I don't know what it is about NFL, but NFL players are getting in trouble left and right.
Well, I think it's the 90s all over again.
It is, yeah. It's Michael.
Remember the 90s? Everybody was getting arrested on the Cowboys, the Giants,
yeah,
team,
I was going to say.
Everybody was getting arrested in the 90s.
Michael Irvin had a field day in the 90s. That was his deal. Yeah.
So Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor. He had a field day too. And let's see. I think that's about enough for the teasers. Let's jump into it, shall we?
Yes.
Let's talk about it. We finally got her. No, not the Queen. Kim Kardashian, the Queen of trash TV. We got her, Bruiser.
We did?
We got her.
She got arrested, huh?
She got a slap on the wrist at least. Oh. She was charged by the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, over alleged pump and dump crypto schemes. She's going to be paying $1.26 million.
Good. She should be, she's the reason that we have people that are famous for nothing.
That's true. Well, now she's famous for being a criminal.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, she's always been a criminal.
Oh, come on. Ooh.
I do not like her.
Kim Kardashian has landed in hot water with the feds over an Instagram post promoting a cryptocurrency asset, not the one on her backside, but that has been blasted by critics. Well, that might have been. I can't say for sure on that. As an alleged pump and dump scheme, and I can't attest to that either. The Security and Exchange Commission has announced on Monday that it has charged the reality television star and social media influencer for touting on social media a crypto asset security without disclosing the payment that she received for the promotion. The SEC said Kim K agreed to settle the charges and pay $1.26 million in penalties,
wow,
disgorgement, and interest, and cooperate with the ongoing investigation. Kardashian paid the penalties without admitting or denying the SEC's findings, according to the agency. She also agreed to refrain from promoting any crypto asset securities for 3 years, according to the government. A spokesperson for Kardashian told the New York Post, Ms. Kardashian is pleased to have resolved this matter with the SEC. I bet she is. Kardashian fully cooperated with the SEC. from the very beginning, and she remains willing to do whatever she can to assist the SEC in this manner. In a shot from her Instagram, there's a huge ad on there that says, "Are you guys into crypto?" It says, "This is not financial advice, but sharing what my friends just told me about the Ethereum Max token." A few minutes ago, Ethereum Max burned 400 trillion tokens, literally 50% off their admin wallet, giving back to the entire Emacs community. A bunch of hashtags here and there. Swipe up to go to the Emacs community.
So her assistant was fired because she doesn't run her social media. Her assistants do.
That's right. Well, so they take the rap. That's why. Yeah. So when
that, because I run my own Instagram, but I'm asked to be a brand ambassador, whatever that is.
Yeah, I get that too now.
Exactly. And it's like, you got to do your research, because you don't want to fall in this situation. And unfortunately, Kim's assistant do the research, so she fired her.
Someone got the axe, and we're not talking body spray. In fact, who's the one? Should we put one on blast right now? You want to put one on blast? Yeah. One of the brand ambassadors that jumped in my DMs. This one that jumped in my DMs and is still in my DMs. Let's see here. There's a lot of weirdos that jump in my DMs. I think they're mostly fake. They're like, "How are you today? What city are you from?" I like to give them different cities. I'm from Portugal, Spain. That's my favorite one.
I like to talk back in a different language. Just go to Google Translate or whatever, and you put it in there. Yeah. And then I also like to talk about how unhappy I am.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And then the best is when they tell me Mark Zuckerberg wants to give me something, and I go, "Well, I just texted Mark and he didn't say anything." You don't know Mark Zuckerberg. I go, "Neither do you."
Yes, I do. I am a robot as well. We are robots. The one it's like a ghost something jewelry company is the one that's
I got that one too.
Yeah. I think it's just the paranormal show. So they're like, "We represent ghost jewelry and we want you to be our brand ambassador." And I'm like, "I can't wear jewelry. It gives me hives."
Well, and the whole work with that, the whole scheme of that is they bring you in by saying they want to do that, but you still have to pay for the stuff you're wearing.
Yeah.
And then you get a code, they give us a code that whenever somebody puts in, you get X amount of dollars or whatever.
Yeah.
They get 30% off and you get percentage off the next time you order. And it's like, why? If you want me to represent you, send it to me.
Yeah. Just send it to me. I'll decide if I want to wear it and pimp your brand.
Yeah.
Maybe I do. Maybe I don't.
I work with a group called Mad Cat Beard Care, and they're amazing. He's out of Ohio. Mm-hmm. If you go to madcatbeardcare.com or Mad Cat Beard, I think it is. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. They have a root beer. It's called the Root Beer City Bruiser, and it's a beard oil.
Ooh.
And it smells like root beer. And they have a soap, and he has a beard balm and a beard wash he just created. And all the proceeds he makes goes to helping homeless cats in Ohio.
Really?
To get so he's like a cat rescue.
Mm-hmm.
And he right away, when he approached me, was real professional. And says, and he sent me a bunch of scents for me to try, and he sent me the artwork and all that. And he sends me stuff regularly to where I'm, put stuff out on my table and say, "Hey, go here," because it helps. He shows, if you don't trust that all the proceeds are going there, he proves it, and it's just he's doing a good thing.
See, that's
the kind of thing that people need to be ambassadors for.
That's a good deal to be an ambassador for.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Where they want you to pay for it.
Right. They're not like, "Oh, well, you just pay us, and then you be our ambassador, and everything's good."
Kim K does it. No, she doesn't. You give it to her for free.
Yeah. That's not. Yeah. So, but again, with Miss Kardashian here, the rest of Miss Kardashian's story. Do we call her Miss Kardashian? She's not Mrs. West anymore, I guess.
They are divorced, right? Is it official?
Yeah, it's official. They've filed. Everything's filed. Even though Kanye said, "That's my wife." It's not his wife.
I know Kanye's got a little bit of trouble right now because, I think is it North's the oldest, right? Something like that?
I think so.
He's wearing leather masks in public, and it's like a bad thing because he's copying his dad or her dad, or I don't know. It's just
Interesting.
came up. That's why when you said Kim Kardashian, I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is what I read today. Nope, something way different and way more serious.
Really? A leather mask? That family is unusual. She wanted to get this matter behind her to avoid a protracted dispute, the spokesperson said. Protractors. We haven't used them in a while, have we?
No.
Grade school, I believe. The agreement she reached with the SEC allows her to do that so she can move forward with her many different business pursuits, like, I don't know, sea monkeys and other things like that she's pushing. I don't know. John Janosch, an attorney for Scott & Scott, the firm handling the class action suit, said, we see the SEC order as validation of the claims in the Ethereum Max litigation, particularly those against defendant Kardashian. Promoters who mislead investors should be held accountable. According to the feds, Kardashian failed to disclose that she was paid $250,000 to post an item to her tens of millions of Instagram followers, touting Emacs crypto tokens, the digital coin that was offered for sale by Ethereum Max. Kardashian's posts contained a link to the Ethereum Max website, which provided instructions for potential investors to purchase Emacs tokens. This case is a reminder that when celebrities or influencers endorse investment opportunities, including crypto asset securities, it doesn't mean that those investments or those investment products rather are right for all investors, said SEC Chair Gary Gensler. Sorry, I keep choking on my words. There's a picture of her in the pool. I'm an old man. Thrills come hard and cheap for me. We encourage investors to consider an investment's potential risks and opportunities in light of their own financial goals. Ms. Kardashian's case also serves as a reminder to celebrities that others that the law requires them to disclose to the public when and how much they are paid to promote investing in securities. Let's see here. Earlier this year, Kardashian and former boxer Floyd Mayweather were named in a lawsuit alleging they misled their online followers into buying cryptocurrency as part of a pump and dump scheme. Hey, now. Former Boston Celtics star Paul Pierce was also named in that suit. It just seems to me if it's anything having to do with crypto and Kim K is saying something about it, you shouldn't put your money in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't go near it.
Yeah. Kardashian and Mayweather were also accused of making false or misleading statements while promoting Emacs, and Truth defendants marketed the Emacs tokens to investors so that they could sell their portion of the float for a profit, the suit adds. So there you go.
Well, we know two assistants that are going to be available for work.
That's right. And they give good financial advice. So
well, if you want to spend $1.26 million.
Yeah. Well, I know this much. We're getting our cut. Either way. She got paid, so I guess that's all that matters, right? Another thing you want to stay away from digitally, evidently, is Tinder. If you're looking for a date on Tinder, you want to beware.
Before you start this story, I just got to point this out. When we were kids, Tim, you and I growing up, young cruiser, young bruiser, our parents always told us, hey, don't talk to strangers. Hey, don't get in the car with strangers.
Yeah.
And nowadays, we're encouraging our kids to talk to strangers on the internet with these type of apps.
That's true.
And if you have to get someplace, call an Uber, which is a stranger with a car, and just go ahead and get in with them.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. Yeah, the advice is all effed up these days, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm surprised there hasn't been a Tinder serial killer yet. I know there was a Craigslist one. There was an Amazon one. But I'm surprised there hasn't been a Tinder one yet.
Yeah. I was always told, if you're feeling around down there and you grab a handful of nuts, it's probably not your gig. But now it's anything goes. So I'm confused these days. I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
raising my kids was a confusing time. I'm glad they're all older now and on their own, but still, it was a very confusing time because I had to go against everything that I was told.
No. I guess it's no holds barred, evidently. Yeah, there's that. Well, it turns out that a Tinder date turned into a $3,000 armed robbery carried out by a criminal couple. That's not how you want the date to end.
No.
If it's questionable, then sure, roll with it. But if it's that questionable, don't roll with it at all. Possible Tinder date turned into a stick-up when a man was robbed of thousands of dollars from an armed couple when he showed up for a date, according to Arizona police. The male victim arrived at Embassy Suites hotel room last month in Phoenix. I think you think the date's going really well when you show up at the hotel room first.
Yeah.
That's you're like, hey, haha, we can skip the cost of dinner.
That's a very expensive first date.
Embassy Suites hotel room?
No, the $3,000 that were taken from.
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to say the cost of the hotel room alone, sure.
Well, I'm assuming the couple did that.
Yeah, they did.
To lure him
Yeah.
in because they knew, hey, we're getting this room paid for anyways. We're gonna rob this guy.
Oh, sure.
We got at least
Yeah.
$100 some bucks, you know.
Left over after the room? Yeah. I mean, Embassy Suites is pretty expensive. So the male victim arrived at Embassy Suites at the hotel room last month in Phoenix after he matched with a woman named Sonia on the dating app. I've noticed that's kind of a name that'll take you to the cleaners.
Yes.
I'm just saying. I don't know.
Great comic book, Red Sonja.
It is. It's a great comic. But instead of meeting a potential date, the victim was welcomed into the room by the two suspects. That's when you know you're in trouble.
Hey, what's he doing here?
Yeah. This guy's name is?
He starts taking his tie off, unbuttoning, going, I didn't think I'd be into it, but now I am. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, you got a little something to you there, sir. And I think this is going to be a good night. The male suspect, Jose Sandoval Jacques, pointed a gun at the victim. That doesn't make for a good night.
Yeah, that makes the little Willie go back home.
It doesn't. Quite a fast way. And ordered him to give up his cell phone and other belongings, the police report states. The man was also forced to hand over his ID, his PIN codes, bank account, and social media information. Now the night sucks.
You can't do anything.
No. The suspects then demanded the man drive with them to a nearby Chase Bank before they took off with his car. That sealed the deal. It's officially a night that sucks.
It is very tiring to be a convict nowadays because you hear all that stuff they had to steal from him just to get it so he couldn't report them.
Right, yeah. He's like, really? This is all you're doing? Because I'm going to cancel all this like in about 10 minutes. You're getting away with nothing.
Like I'm changing the password on Facebook right now as we speak.
Yep. Yeah, when I cancel all this, you're going to end up with about $10. While they drove his car to the bank, the unknown male continued to have the gun out and provide instructions for the victim. Okay, first you're going to put the card in the machine. You're going to put your code in. You're going to give me $300. I know it's a bad accent. The police report states the victim stated $900 was taken from Chase Bank on September 17th from the drive-thru, and a total of $3,000 have been taken from his account since the initial incident. Here's my thought. Okay, so you call into loss prevention the minute they drop you off. How does $300 or $3,000 end up being gone?
I don't know. I understand the 300 because.
Or 900.
So I understand the 900 because they were with him physically and made him get that.
Mm-hmm.
But now you gave him all your codes, you gave him all your information.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Well, like you said, it's a phone call. They have your cell phone. Borrow your buddy's cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call and say, hey, I was just robbed. We need to change everything. Like. Well, I've had someone try to steal my identity. Mrs. Bruiser and I had to go through that whole process. It's a process, but it's like, am I willing to give up, half a day of stuff, or do I want to lose my bank account?
Yeah. Well, at the very least, they have a police report, so you retroactively can give the money back. You can prove that you didn't do this, somebody else was bilking this money out of your account, the $3,000 should be considered a loss and covered by, federal funding, by government insurance.
They got the $3,000. Like, they had to have done it right after they dropped them off.
I don't know.
Like, this guy's an idiot. I mean,
yeah. The suspects were identified as 32-year-old Jacquez and 33-year-old Crystal Halsey. After authorities said the couple used their real names for the hotel when they pulled money from the victim's account. You can't make it up. This is why it's called dumb crime, stupid criminals, folks.
Hey, maybe we should use I don't know, like John and Sue. No. Let's use our real names. No one's gonna look.
Come on.
It'll
be fun.
Foolproof plan. You're Sonia on Tinder.
Live a little. The couple used the victim's car to drive to California and Las Vegas before police officers in Vegas tried to pull them over, the station reported. The pair reportedly ditched the vehicle and fled on foot, somehow grabbing a ride back to Phoenix. Well, hitchhiking is popular with the kids these days.
Hey, they have his Uber account.
Oh, true. Yeah, they could have called an
That's
Uber.
where the $3,000 came from. That's the Uber ride from Vegas to Phoenix.
That's right. That's where all the money went. You're right, Bruiser. The victim's car was reportedly found on September 25th with a gun inside, of course. Got to keep the gun somewhere. Later that same week, Phoenix police saw an escort ad online that matched Halsey's number and set up a location to meet the woman, according to the report. When Halsey arrived in a Nissan Rogue with Jacquez driving at La Quinta Inn, they downgraded,
They downgraded a lot there.
Times are tough. Police attempted to arrest the pair, but they instead quickly drove off, according to Fox 10. During the high-speed chase, the couple carjacked the driver of another car and again attempted to flee. Something about guns and cars with these kids. They're popular.
I love that this is hitting every button of dumb crime, stupid criminals.
It really is.
We just need drugs involved somehow, and them somehow ending up in Florida, and we have a perfect trifecta.
Their escape from authorities eventually ended when they collided with another vehicle while they were on the wrong side of the highway. Somehow this just all fits. They reportedly tried to steal another car, but this time police moved in to take them into custody. In an interview with police, Jacquez said he knew this would come back to get him, police said. According to Fox 10, Halsey and Jacquez both face charges of assault, armed robbery with a deadly weapon, robbery, and 2 counts of vehicle theft. And there you go, in the great state of Arizona.
Oh, man, I knew this would come back and bite me.
I knew it'd come back to bite me.
Too good to be true. How'd you catch us? Was it the Tinder account? No, we looked at the hotel receipt. Oh, she was right. Don't tell her that.
I hate using aliases, but now it's time to start. Yep. More famous people in the news. We turn now to the NFL.
Oh, here we go.
You know what? I'm going to grab the one NFL story and I'm going to work my way up because I actually have 2 NFL stories here. One is you have to use your imagination a little. We're going to play an imagination game. Okay. And the other one, you don't have to use any imagination at all, Bruiser. He does all the work for you.
Oh, that's easier.
Isn't that nice when they do all the work for you?
Oh, yeah.
Unlike his NFL career where he didn't do any of the work for you. He'd come in, he'd promise a lot of heavy promises for you. Then he'd take his clothes off and leave. I think you know who I'm talking about in the second story.
I think so.
But let's go to the first story. First story is an easy one, or relatively easy one. It has to do with one of our friends in Cleveland. Of course, the Browns are not having an easy season. Their quarterback, fond of massages, and got him in trouble. So Cleveland is known, I think, as the crime capital of the world as far as the NFL goes.
Cleveland has hired like 3 different criminals that can't play because they're either on suspension from their crimes or they're in the process of being prosecuted on those crimes.
Yeah, they're having a tough season there in Cleveland this year. And then, of course, they said goodbye to their progressive quarterback, and he's over in your neck of the woods now.
Yep, and the fans are turning on him.
Are they?
Yeah.
Already?
Oh, yeah.
Boy, that was quick. What is it, game 4 this week?
Yep.
Wow. That's
No, it's game 5. We're on game 5.
Is it game 5? The Vikes are 3-1. Am I missing something?
3 + 1 is 4.
Yeah.
So it'll be week 5. Sunday.
This coming Sunday, but we just got done with week 4.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm saying we're going on to week 5.
You're looking ahead. I'm just barely. Well, as we tape this, it's Monday, so there's games that are just wrapping up week 4.
True. That's right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Remember,
they're turning on him after 4 games.
Jeez. Who did the Panthers play this week?
Oh, that's bugging me. I don't know. It was at home. Oh, Arizona.
Arizona.
Because of the whole J.J. Watt thing, where he had a heart attack on Thursday. He had a heart attack Thursday.
Yeah, me and J.J. Watt are heart attack brothers. Yeah.
He got electric shock back and then was back at practice on Friday and played on Sunday.
See, that's a man right there. That's a man.
Come on, Tim. What are you doing?
Hey, I did. Hey, shit. I asked
you were back to work. You're right. You're back to work.
I asked the doctor.
You weren't being a defensive end.
Yeah, I'm not hitting anybody in this job. But
you're not trying to sack Baker Mayfield on a regular basis 3 days after your heart attack.
Insurance people sack him on commercials. But I did, in all fairness, on Saturday, I asked the doctor, will I be available for an interview on Monday?
Right.
Yeah, I said, am I getting out of here on Sunday? And he looked at me, and he honestly looked at me and laughed and said, what would have happened if you would have had a serious heart attack and you would have been staying the week? I said, I would have brought my equipment in here.
Which you and I talked about.
Yeah. And he said, you would have brought your equipment in here? And I said, yeah. And he said, wow, that's dedication. So, but I digress. Okay, so we're starting out with another NFL star, this one in Cleveland. He rolled his Porsche after practice. And I'm not talking about rolling it like a J or a doob.
No. He had a good practice, was excited, took a corner too fast.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why he was excited, Bruiser. He had a good practice. I think he is having some great activity after practice, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into why he might have rolled that Porsche. All-Pro Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns is out of the hospital. He was released. He's a defensive end, by the way, for the Cleveland Browns. He was released from a
very good defensive end too.
Yes, very good. Yes, yeah, he was a high draft pick, by the way. He was released from a hospital late Monday night after he was injured when he rolled over his Porsche while driving on a rural Ohio road following practice. He was out in the middle of nowhere in a Porsche, Bruiser.
Well, that practice just rejuvenated him. The adrenaline was going. He took the shower. Was like, oh, I gotta drive. Boys, I'm gonna drive.
I feel the need for speed. Wink. Garrett suffered non-life-threatening injuries in the one-car wreck. In other words, nobody else was around. He'd been taken to the hospital along with, guess who?
Who?
It wasn't a teammate he was giving a ride home to.
Oh.
No.
Was it somebody like a cheerleader that had a really good practice too?
It might have been yay, rah, rah, sis, boom, pa. It was an unidentified female, Bruiser.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Who might have missed the stick shift while shifting. I'm just saying. That's not the stick shift, Miles. I know, baby. I know. Just focus. Oh, my God. Deer in the road.
I had a great practice.
Yes, so Garrett suffered non-life-threatening injuries in the one-car wreck. He'd been taken to the hospital along with an unidentified female passenger after crashing around 3 p.m. on Monday. 3 p.m. on Monday. Where do you get a good drink at 3 p.m. on Monday, Bruiser? Probably almost nowhere on a rural road in Ohio. Do you get what I mean?
I get what you mean, but I'm still going. He had a great practice.
And this was 2 hours after practice ended, Bruiser.
Well, you got to think, though. He's got to go back in the locker room, change, shower, say goodbye to the boys. Mm-hmm. It takes me a while to leave the locker room.
Does it? How long?
My wife always yells at me. She's like, great, your first match. I said, yeah. She goes, we're still going to be the last ones to leave the building because you're still not changed yet. Mm-hmm. No, it takes me a while.
Okay.
I'm at least a half hour, 45 minutes after I wrestle. until I'm fully changed.
Oh, I see. But this was 2 hours after practice ended, Bruiser.
Oh, no, I'm just saying. So there's the hours
Yeah.
and doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other hours is celebrating practice with the cheerleader that had a really good practice.
I see. That's what we're talking about. That's what I'm talking about. The extent of Garrett's injury isn't yet known, and it wasn't immediately clear if the All-Pro will play Sunday when the Browns visit the Atlanta Falcons. Not saying they need the extra help, but, it's the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
Garrett's agent, Nicole Lynn, said Garrett didn't break any bones. Thank God. He might have broke one soft bone. Just saying. Lynn said Garrett was alert and responsive. Boy, was he ever, while receiving medical care. Now, the condition and status of the female passenger hasn't been disclosed, probably because Myles Garrett tried to throw her in the woods. Ohio run, girl, run. Don't be caught. Ohio State Highway Patrol said in a release that troopers arrived at the scene of the accident Monday to find Garrett's damaged car on the side of the road after it appeared to flip over several times. So he was very attentive to what he was doing.
Yeah. You think the whole time the rolling was, baby, my head's spinning right now because of you.
Yes. And something else.
Yeah.
Garrett had been driving on State Road in Sharon Township while traveling south after he left the team's headquarters in Berea, Ohio. The Highway Patrol doesn't suspect impairment from drugs or alcohol.
Well, that's good.
He was alert.
That's a first.
He was really alert.
Of course he was alert.
He might have been a tad bit sleepy, but he was alert.
Was he clothed? That's the question.
I don't know. It doesn't say here. Garrett and his passenger were both wearing seatbelts. That means she's talented. In his Porsche 911 Turbo S. The crash is still under investigation. One of the NFL's most dominant defensive players, Garrett, has recorded 61 and a half sacks in 71 games. That means he's good.
He had an amazing practice and went out to get that adrenaline on.
Right. He needs one sack to pass Clay Matthews for the team's career record. That means he's, he was focused up until that practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Browns.
After practice.
Yeah. He was celebrating early, I guess. He was doing his sack dance, if you know what I mean. The Browns drafted Garrett with number 1 overall pick in 2017. There was an ugly on-field incident that previously happened with Garrett, but then he found a way to calm down.
Yeah.
So that there wouldn't be any more ugly on-field incidents. I'll let you guess what he found out he could do to temper his temper. Meanwhile, another former NFL player who used to get along with a guy named Tom Brady.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Until he walked off the field and took his clothes off.
Yeah.
Is found that he can take his clothes off in his daytime job as well. And show himself off to stun guests in a hotel pool.
Damn, AB.
I know, right? If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Before you get too into the story, when that was released on the internet, someone made a joke tweet as the Cleveland Browns that said, "We have a spot open for you." Because they hire criminals.
Well, you said it, I didn't.
Yep.
This notorious unsigned NFL bad boy could be flagged for illegal use of the hands and the butt, if you know what I mean. Oh, AB.
Damn, AB.
Damn, AB. Embattled All-Pro wide receiver. And he did spread it quite wide if you see the pictures on the internet. Antonio Brown was caught on video shoving his bare buttocks into the face of a stunned woman in an outdoor swimming pool at a swanky Dubai hotel. I didn't think they let you do that in Dubai.
He flipped over too. There's pictures of him flipped over and pushing it up.
Yeah, well, he did that. He did that.
There's a meme with the sensor bar where you can make the sensor bar as long as you want and replace it with your face. It's great.
There is?
Yeah, I'll just send it to you.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AB has a special place in the Bruiser household. He's a running joke with Mrs. Bruiser and I. Ever since the whole Raiders incident where he burned himself doing the cryo thing because he forgot to wear socks, and then the helmet thing, and just him being AB is just, that's why we always say, "Damn AB."
Yeah.
So this came out. We're like, "Oh, yep, NFL season's around, so he's gonna be doing something."
That's right. A lot of AB in his butt in the air. Yep. Oh wait, that wasn't the song. I think the song is right here. Here it is. There it is. Yep. Yep. There it is. I still have it. There it is.
Do you think he had his assistant play that while he was doing that to the woman?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I just picture AB doing that.
Yeah. He's like, throw my butt in the air.
That's no twerking. This is twerking.
Video footage obtained by the Post of the May 14th incident at the Amani Hotel, Dubai, shows 34-year-old Brown way too close for comfort to the woman, who initially laughed off the attention, but quickly swam away to escape the controversial gridiron grate. Eyewitnesses said Brown, whose previous off-the-field antics have gotten him into hot water with the league and the law, and who remains an NFL free agent, surprisingly.
No one's picking him up? Come on.
Yeah, I know, right? After bizarrely quitting on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the middle of a game last season, had just met the woman, and she was fuming after the encounter. Imagine that. She wasn't swept off her feet to have bare ass shoved in her face.
So you're telling me the good old handshake introduction butt in the face isn't the way you go?
No, I know you're surprised, but
that's why people don't want to talk to me. Hi, I'm Bruiser. Here's my butt.
You should rename yourself the Butt City Bruiser.
Whoa! I gotta sell T-shirts.
Yeah, I know. It's a whole new line of shirts now.
Yeah.
In one video, he's just smiling way too hard for.
He has to be on something, or this is CTE to the fullest.
Yeah, I gotta say, there's probably meth involved. It's got
to be something. I've been saying that since he left Pittsburgh. Because before he left Pittsburgh, he was okay, and then towards the end of Pittsburgh, something changed.
Yeah.
And I think it's CTE, drugs. Yeah, drugs for sure.
Well, it could be. It could be a personality disorder too.
It could be bipolar. That's what Kanye is. He's bipolar. He's off his meds.
Yeah. In one video, Brown, who is apparently nude aside from gold chain, apparently nude.
No, he's nude.
At one point, he flipped over and he showed everybody. We can't say little AB because it ain't little.
No.
In one video, Brown, who is apparently nude aside from gold chains around his neck, is huddled at the edge of the pool with the woman. He then plants both hands on the pool's deck to lift himself out of the water twice. Then a bunch of people are quoted as saying, Godzilla! No, I don't know. Sticking his butt in the woman's face both times. Not cool, not classy. No. She turns away, laughing off the apparent neutral zone infractions, nicely written by this journalist, by the way, as other men in the pool begin egging on Brown, yelling, "Yeah, another one," and AB, by the way, the classiest guy sitting around the pool.
Yep, that's his entourage.
Bunch of jerkwads. In the second video, Brown appears to startle a woman when he tries to tie a headscarf around her head. She's able to see. Yeah,
you can't see AB. AB needs to work on his pickup game.
He really does. Yeah,
like there's a right way and a wrong way to show your butt to people, and he was doing it the complete wrong way.
He was about as sharp as a rubber room in this scenario.
Yeah.
When he tries to tie a headscarf around her head, she's able to snap off the scarf, which witnesses said he snatched from another swimmer. So
this is not working out for him, AB. Come on, it's not a hi, my name's AB, here's my butt. It's not headscarf, rip it off you and put it over this lady's face.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm AB.
Brown then lifts the woman up and tosses her head first into the water like he was spiking a football, the shocking video shows.
He probably thinks he was.
He probably
nice pass, Tom.
Probably thought he was back at Heinz Field catching passes from
Roethlisberger there.
Yeah. The woman rises out of the water, wipes her eyes, and swims to the other side of the pool away from Brown. At that point, she probably wishes she had Mace in her swimming suit. One man quips he's waterboarding her, while another Well, another sarcastically responds, he's giving her the longboard. Oh, God, these guys are classless.
That's his entourage. I guarantee you. Because they'll be in the elevator going, hey, AB, remember when I yelled about your longboard? Huh?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I get a raise, right, AB?
Leaning along the edge of the pool's interior, Brown then grabbed little AB and briefly yanks it out of the water in the direction of the woman, causing another man sitting and observing poolside to scream, "Oh my God!" Then the man swam across the pool and filleted him. No, I'm kidding. That's
then the man stood up and started clapping, going, "Congratulations, sir. Good for you."
That's great genetics right there, ladies and gentlemen. Two eyewitnesses told the Post that Brown continued to flaunt his private parts several times after the recording ended, rudely asking the woman, "You want it? You're not splitting a Coke."
No, it's not like, hey, I got too much pizza here. You want some?
Yeah, I ordered a large. I meant to order a small. You want to split one? The sources said the woman appeared visibly upset and was later spotted inside the hotel, yelling and complaining to others about the incident. A rep for the hotel declined comment, refused to reveal the woman's identity. Oh, but they know they had AB in the pool.
Yeah, why didn't they go do something? Why didn't they stop it? Like, is this a full nude pool? Or is this just AB like, hey, I don't need swim trunks, I'm AB.
This is just AB deciding he's going to be naked.
You know, at some point in time, someone's got to say something. What if a kid walked in?
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, snake! And runs away.
Snake. Or another kid walks in and goes, "I love corn." No, that'd be awkward. Brown.
At least no one tried to kill the snake. That's good.
No, then maybe they should. Maybe.
Yeah. The front desk employee.
They should all grab pitchforks and go after it. Brown was asked to leave the hotel shortly after the incident, according to a hotel staffer who requested anonymity. The hotel had also received earlier complaints from other guests about Brown's antics, the source said. Here's the thing. You're in Dubai. Don't they have a pretty tough jail system there?
You'd think.
Yeah.
Especially for foreigners.
Yeah. The complaints included Brown allegedly snubbing United Arab Emirates dress code customs by flaunting his bare chest to guests inside the hotel and smoking what they believe smelled like marijuana in his room, which would violate the country's law.
Yeah, you get prosecuted with that. Like, they will kill people over that.
Yeah. Brown, now an aspiring rap artist. Oh, great.
Oh, God.
So not only is he assaulting our eyes, now he's assaulting our ears.
Yeah.
Was in the United Arab Emirates to see his buddy, former boxing champ Floyd Mayweather Jr., who's now going to deny he even came over, fight an exhibition in Abu Dhabi, to perform as the boxer walked into the ring. Oh, so he actually walked him down to the ring and said some stuff.
He was rapping the whole time, probably.
I don't know if I call it rapping, but he was saying some stuff.
I heard he did a really good remix of the booty, 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 booty.
Yeah, he did this. He went, booty, 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 rocking everywhere. Booty, 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 rocking. Then he took his clothes off. Yeah. The 7-time Pro Bowler shocked the NFL world in January when he abandoned Tom Brady and the rest of the then defending champion Buccaneers in the middle of a game with the Jets that they eventually pulled out in the final seconds. You also see, too, that he, this week, put up something on Instagram to kind of poke the bear known as Tom Brady of a picture of Giselle hugging him.
Really? No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he did that as well. So
I've slowed down on the AB social media since he posted his bank account and all the information.
Yeah. Brown ripped off parts of his uniform at MetLife Stadium before running shirtless through the end zone to the locker room after an apparent disagreement with the coaching staff over whether he was healthy enough to play. The team released him days later, saying it first offered to get Brown mental health help before he refused, which would have been the smart play, I think, here. Yeah,
he's got something going on with it. Either drugs, chemical, personality, something. Yeah. He needs something.
Mm-hmm. His up and down career includes being suspended the first 8 games of the 2020 season for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. The decision came after a former female trainer, Brittany Taylor, filed a lawsuit accusing Brown of sexually harassing her, or assaulting her, rather. The civil suit was settled in 2021 without revealing the terms of the agreement. In 2020, Brown pleaded no contest to burglary and battery charges in Florida after being charged with attacking the driver of a moving truck. Not a moving truck, but a moving truck that delivered some of his possessions from California. He was ordered to serve 2 years of probation that included taking anger management courses. Brown began his NFL career in 2010 with the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he was among the league's most prolific and productive wide receivers during his 9 seasons there. He was traded to Oakland, where Bruiser and his wife then continued to harass him night and day before playing a game.
Continue to keep doing stupid stuff.
Right. Before playing a game following a series of off-the-field incidents. When asked if he condoned stripping in the pool and exposing himself, Brown texted a reporter Saturday, "Do what you got to do. P-word, white boys dead already." I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know. Can I quote you on that?
Yeah, evidently you can. It's a text.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah, I'm going to put that on a T-shirt.
Yes, please do.
Do what you got to. It's going to say Darkness Radio. Do what you got to do. P-word, white boys dead already. His reps did not return messages, as they probably should not. You want to?
Well, it's because they all probably quit. Like, how do you represent Antonio Brown? Like, you have to be criminally insane to represent him.
You do. You do. Elsewhere in the Dumb Crime Stupid Criminal Sports Edition. Don't go to a FIFA event in Indonesia.
Okay, I won't go to a FIFA event. I don't like FIFA.
Did you see this over the weekend?
No, I don't pay attention to soccer.
Oh, I know I don't either. I'd fall asleep to it.
I've always not disliked soccer since I was a kid because my parents are trying to find I always played baseball, but they were trying to find another sport for me to play. So they signed me up for soccer, and the goalie blocked the ball, so I went up and tackled him.
Of course.
And then I kicked him, and I got a red flag. I said, "What's this do?" They're like, "You're out of the game." I said, "No, I'm standing right here." So then my parents go, "Maybe we should sign you up for football."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good choice.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done. I probably would have done worse, but you were reserved.
I was only in the 8th grade or 7th grade, 8th grade. So
I applaud your actions, my friend.
Thank you.
Warm milk, back scratchies, and soccer. That's how I like to fall asleep. I don't know about you. But in Indonesia, that's how you lose your life, evidently, is by going to a FIFA soccer match. Indonesian cops broke FIFA rules against tear gas and set off a stampede that killed at least 125 people. By the way, you are not supposed to throw tear gas if you're a cop into a crowded stadium.
You're not supposed to?
No,
I know that.
no.
Evidently,
evidently it hurts people.
It's a stadium. It got a lot of airflow.
Not that much.
I know. I just say that because whenever we wrestle outside, we do our underwater needlepoint outside. Mm-hmm. Sound goes up, not out.
Yeah.
It's a weird vibe. Yeah,
that's why. That's why you don't throw tear gas. Indonesian police violated FIFA guidelines by using tear gas to quell fights at a soccer stadium Sunday, triggering a massive stampede that killed at least 125 people and injured more than 320. How would you like to be the slow one in that pack?
Do you think the cops showed up and went, "Oh, no, I've seen this in America. We are not going in there. We see what they do over there. Quick, just start throwing things in there. Oh, those smoke gas, throw those in there too."
World Soccer's governing body specifically prohibits firearms or crowd-controlled gas carried or used to maintain order at a game, which local officials contradicted with deadly consequences. Police shot tear gas at the crowd when angry supporters of the losing team flooded the field after the final whistle, and fights erupted between opposing sides. This is what I don't get. I'm going to stop the story right here. This is what I don't get. You got a bunch of guys against a bunch of guys running up and down a field for about an hour, hour and a half, which is a lot like watching a pendulum swing back and forth. How are you all not sleeping by the end of this game?
Dude, soccer players are insane. Like, have you seen English soccer players? I mean, of course, they all get drunk and stuff watching the game, but yeah, they're like passionate to where they will start shoving and pushing each other in the stands. But you got to think, Tim, you got to entertain yourself somehow.
I guess.
You're just watching men run up and down a field.
That's all they're doing.
Or women, you know what I mean?
They run up and down the field to hope to get the score to 1-0.
Right. So if I'm watching that, I'm going to get bored, and if I'm liquored up, hey.
It's no wonder when the NFL goes over to England, they get 70, 80,000 people to watch the game because they're hitting each other. They're doing something. It's like rugby. Yeah.
And there's no pissed up drunk guys trying to pick fights with each other because they're not bored.
Right. Exactly. They're not sitting there bumping into each other and getting all sensitive over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually watching something go on the field.
Yeah. I sat next to, I think it was Joe Hendry was a big soccer fan.
By the way, I love his vignettes. They're amazing.
I do too.
Yeah.
But like he had it on. We're at the arena and we're watching it, and he's like jumping around and shoving me. I'm like, why are you shoving me? He kicked it. Like he didn't even score. He just kicked it.
Yeah, he kicked it. Yay!
Yeah, he kicked it downfield. One of his guys kicked it. It got blocked and then kicked the other way. Why are you excited?
Yeah.
Are you happy they made it from one end to the other?
Settle down, cowboy. It's not that serious.
Like at least in hockey they hit each other, in rugby they hit each other. Watch those sports.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't get the thrill of the appeal. My cousins are professional soccer referees.
Cool.
I know.
They have cards in their pocket and give out cards for being naughty.
Right. I mean, put some money in the cards and give them to me. I used to give them a lot of flack for that. But I mean, I respect it now because it's actually got some meaning nowadays. I mean, back when they first started, it was either that or I write Hallmark cards for a living. Nobody really cared. But I mean, now it's got a little bit of meaning because now, it's like the generation that grew up playing soccer and nobody came to their games. It didn't mean anything. Now that
you guys think too. Where was it? This wasn't in America. This was somewhere else.
Oh, they travel the world and they referee soccer matches.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying this particular game where this riot happened.
Oh yeah, this was in Indonesia.
Because I know like Brazilian country or South American countries, obviously Indonesia, United Kingdom, Scotland, Ireland, all that, they all go crazy for soccer.
Oh, yeah. But
that's why this is happening. The Indonesians are like, oh no, karate kick.
I'm just saying that, there's a whole generation now that's grown up thinking that their soccer games were important when nobody loved them or showed up for their games. So now they treat it like it was the best sport of all, and it's just not.
It's not.
No,
it's not.
No. Soccer never gained a rating point anywhere. Now it's on TV. Nobody watches it on TV.
Well, you have enough foreigners over here that are. I'm sure. And you have enough.
I love how you said that. We're gonna get so many emails. Go ahead.
We are, but I'm just saying.
I mean, we already are from what I just said, but.
People from different countries are over here. So, yeah. And then you got to think, too, like David Beckham did a lot to make it mainstream.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was Michael Jordan.
We're not saying those guys in the field aren't athletes. They are. And if you love soccer, good. It's just boring to us.
I mean, keep in mind, okay, back when we
I don't like golf either, I hate golf.
I like playing golf. I can't watch it,
I think it's stupid.
Oh, okay, we'll agree to disagree there. I like playing golf. I just can't watch it. I can't. To me, if I want to take a nice nap on a beautiful spring day, here's what I love to do on a beautiful spring day. I listen to Jim Nantz, who's the most boring broadcaster in the world. Call the Masters. I keep it on DVR. So I can put it on whenever I need to. And when the weather is just right, I open all the windows in the house and I put on Jim Nantz and I have the most beautiful nap ever. Because it literally is like AMSR for the octogenarian set.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But back to the subject at hand, which is if they have a riot in Indonesia, does anybody really care? At a soccer stadium.
I like how it's the soccer organization that enforces the rules, not like the government.
Yes, it's FIFA. FIFA's the one who cares. Don't kill our fans. We only have 100,000 of them worldwide.
The law's like, we're going to do what we have to do to maintain control.
Right. We only have 200,000 in the organization. 100,000 of them play for us.
Yeah.
And are referees, and the other 100,000 are just the fans worldwide. So, yeah, don't kill any of them. I know. Soccer fans are just upset with me right now.
Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, and just human rights wise, you shouldn't throw tear gas into a crowded stadium. You shouldn't yell fire in a movie theater. You shouldn't do things that make sense, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot you shouldn't do, but think about it. Like these, I don't know. I disagree with the whole thing. I don't get rioting after this happens, you know? It's like rioting after your team wins. I don't get that. Like, hey, our team won. Let's destroy our city.
Oh, you've never been a Vikings fan.
But like, and I don't get this either. Like, I've seen calls, and I've been mad about calls, and I've been passionate about teams. You know, like the Brewers right now are just horror. You know, they're just pissing me off. But I've never thought, oh, I'm going to storm the field and beat the shit out of the opposing. You know. And trust me, Tim, you and I know there's Bears fans out there. We'd love to punch in the face, you know, because they're the worst.
Yeah. I honestly wanted to go to the last Twins game and storm the field and just beat the shit out of the Twins. I mean, for the season they had, thanks for stringing us along all year long, you sons of bitches. Here's one in your eye.
But common sense is, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be stupid. Yeah, I mean that's you know. I get it. Yeah, you have the right to cheer. You have the right to boo. That's where your rights stop.
Yeah.
That be a healthy fan. Don't be a dumb fan.
And as police, they need to think of what's a humane way with the least amount of injuries that we can do.
Non-lethal. Non-lethal solutions. Which technically tear gas should be non-lethal, but not when you put that many people in one small place.
Yeah, and how much tear gas is released when people are getting hurt like that? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you see the pictures, if you watch, I mean, here, let's see if I can show you.
You got to think about it too. Like,
I mean, look at that.
Tear gas is also loud.
Here's a picture of cops running through clouds of it. You know, I mean, that's inappropriate.
Yeah, and you know what happens is people then panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to think too that when you release these smoke bombs and these loud explosions and these cops come in, like 100,000 people in a stadium, there's only so many exits, so only so many people can exit at a time. You know, there's going to be trampling and panic and chaos. So you got to take that into consideration when controlling it.
Yeah,
it's not like you're out in a public street.
Yeah,
and you know where you have all this room. Which do they handle those great? Not all the time, but here common sense should have came in. Yeah, and they should have said, "Hey, we should have figured out a different way."
Here's the kicker on this whole thing, and we'll put a lid on this and move on. They say it remains unclear if Indonesian police knew that using tear gas violated the soccer organization's rules. What action will be taken against the Indonesian Soccer League by FIFA is unknown. The country of 275 million people is supposed to host the 2023 FIFA Under-20 World Cup. Yes, there's different organizations and different layers to that. The match between Arema Football Club and I believe it's Persebaya Surabaya took place in... Is this my article keeps jumping here? Hold on. Kanjuruhan Stadium in Malang in East Java. The stampede erupted just after the game's final whistle blew around 10 p.m. local time. An Indonesian security official said the stadium meant to hold 38,000 was packed beyond capacity with 42,000 tickets issued for the game, which would never happen in any other country. That wouldn't happen in England, wouldn't happen in Portugal, wouldn't happen in Spain. It wouldn't happen in any other European country. It wouldn't happen in an Indian country. It wouldn't happen in Japan. Wouldn't happen in any other FIFA nation. So it wouldn't happen in America. That wouldn't happen. You wouldn't have an overflow crowd like that to see something like that. So on top of that, you're throwing tear gas, and all these people are trying to hit exits at the same time. It's not going to work.
Nope.
So you are going to have people injured. You are going to have people killed. That's what's going to happen. Let's move on. We go to your former neck of the woods, where, as you know, the new Netflix series, the new Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix series, is absolutely scaring the crap out of people as they're watching it.
I grew up during that time period. Jeffrey Dahmer is the reason that I got an interest in true crime and serial killers and fascinations with it, because it was 91. I was 13 years old. It was that, how could somebody do this? This was my thinking, and that's what drew me to the interest. And then you discover all of them. Now this documentary came out, and it's like, okay, they changed this a little bit, but all this is true. And everyone's like, oh my God, how gruesome and all that. It's like, didn't you pick up a newspaper? Like, don't you know who this guy is? Like, he's a cannibal.
You know, a lot of people watch, their nightly news, and you get a sanitized 30-second bit of what happened during the day, But back then they didn't. I remember the bodies being taken out of the homes. And, but in Milwaukee, you're going to get, and we got the shots of the barrels being, but you didn't see body parts hanging out of them.
Right.
And you got a brief description of what happened. And it was, they have to sanitize it to the point where it's consumable for anybody from a third grade level up.
Yeah.
So they're not going to say, hey, take a look at the bodies that we pulled out of Dahmer's apartment tonight.
That's true. And I've done a ton of research on it just because it was.
See, and that's
the first one, and that's where it is. But the thing that I like the Netflix show, and here's why, and I might get hate mail and all that. It doesn't sensationalize Jeffrey because it shows it from the victim's point of view. At no point in time do you think he's a good guy, or hey, he's a guy I want to hang out, or look at how cool he is. Mm-hmm. The whole series, he's a monster.
Yeah.
And my dad used to be a checkpoint to see Dahmer when Dahmer was in prison. And my dad saw him every day. And I remember asking my dad, like, what was it like? Because, you're fascinated. I'm a kid. At the time he was in there, I was, 14? It was like 92, 93. Mm-hmm. And I just remember asking my dad, like, what's he like? And my dad goes, pure evil. He says, every time he walks past, I have to look him in the eyes, and they're just dark. There's black.
Yeah.
It's pure evil. He goes, there's something wrong with him. And then the whole thing came up with him finding Jesus and all that. My dad says, no. My dad said, you can look a man in his eyes, and you know evil. And this is evil.
Yeah. Yep.
And then he left before he was murdered and all that. But it was this Netflix series shows that he is an evil, evil man. And everyone's freaking out because it's what really happened. Like, if you pick up a book, they describe everything that he did in that show.
Yeah. Well, speaking of eyes and his eyes, the prison specs worn by notorious serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer are up for grabs. You can get them for a hefty $150,000.
Really?
Yeah, if you want to run around and play Dahmer, I guess.
I expect to see those in Zach Bagans' museum at some point.
You think he'll buy them?
He's got that serial killer wing, why wouldn't he?
No, that's true. He does have. I'm trying to remember whose glasses he has. He has somebody's glasses.
Does he have Dahmer's?
It might be a different set of Dahmer's glasses, or he has
the prison glasses were the black rimmed ones.
Yeah.
The ones he wore through court, and then when he was killing people were like those aviators with the clear.
Yeah, he might have
old 1980s serial killer glasses.
Yeah.
Does he have his, or does he have Ted Kaczynski? He has some. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he has somebody's glasses. I just don't remember whose they are. It might be Dahmer's other set.
I think it is the one that they found in the apartment.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't arrested with glasses.
Right. A Canadian collector hopes to cash in on revived interest in the Milwaukee Cannibals' deadly exploits, courtesy of that new Netflix series on Dahmer. Says he's willing to part with the eyeglasses for a price. Taylor James, who owns Vancouver-based Cult Collectibles, said the outlet told the outlet he got his hands on Dahmer's glasses from the killer's dad after his son was beaten to death inside a Wisconsin prison in 1994. Part of Taylor's vast collection of Dahmer paraphernalia. Dahmer's father, Lionel, agreed to have Taylor manage the merchandise for a cut of the profits, the morbid collector said. And I'm looking at... they are the prison specs is what he's got.
Yeah, the black rimmed ones.
Yeah, I'm looking at different pictures here.
And for people thinking that Lionel's trying to make money off his son, he's not. He donates that money to the victim's family. I just want to put that clear. They say something in the movie. If you haven't seen the Netflix series, spoiler alert, his dad writes a book. And he all the proceeds he wanted to give to the victims and their families. But then it turns out there's that law, like Dahmer, you can't use Dahmer to make money. Well, some weird thing. But
Yeah. Other items in the Dahmer collection include the killer's prison Bible for $6,000, his urn, which sells for $250,000, and a fifth grade class picture for sale for $3,500. Dahmer brutally tortured and killed 17 boys and men between the late 1970s and early 1990s, eating or preserving the body parts of some of his victims. The grotesque killings are the subject of the controversial new Netflix series Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, which has sparked new interest in the serial killer. Mugshots of Dahmer after his 1991 arrest show him wearing eyeglasses. Taylor said he had 2 pairs up for sale, recently peddling one of them to a private buyer, and now is giving the public a chance at the second pair of specs. I
don't know what pictures they're talking. Oh, they're talking when he was the night he was brought in. So
yeah,
he's got the
this is the pair.
It's like a gray.
Yeah, this
hoodie, like jail hoodie.
This is the pair right here. I'm gonna try and do this again without messing anything up.
That's the prison specs.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that's up for sale for a cool $150 if you've got it. Which they just to me look like every other pair of specs you'll see at Vision Works.
People always ask, like, can you go by where Dahmer did the murders and stuff like that? You can go. His grandmother's house is still there, but the apartment building it's a big empty lot with a fence around it and a lot of crackheads and hookers.
Yeah.
He didn't live in a nice part of town.
No.
He did that on purpose.
There was a story out there, and I forgot to pull it. I think it was a week or two ago, where somebody had said something about there was supposed to be some sort of memorial statue, and I don't think it was for Dahmer, but some sort of...
For the victims, and the city said no.
Yeah, for the victims, and the city said no. Yep,
because they don't want him to be remembered, and if you remember the victims, you're remembering him. Milwaukee wants to separate themselves from him completely.
Yeah. Which is kind of sad, because honestly, I think there should be something for the victims.
There definitely should be.
Yeah.
There should be some sort of memorial. There's a memorial for Gacy's victims that they're finding,
Yeah.
There's a memorial for the Waco cultists, that's the Davidian.
Yep. Let's move on to Georgia. An escaped inmate from Connecticut captured at his birthday party in Georgia.
Well, he's still going to celebrate. It's your birthday. And you're free.
That's right. He's like, Mama, I'm coming home. Prepare me a party.
Booty, rocking everywhere.
I don't know.
I don't think he's asking for that. I think he want a bouncy house.
You want
Mom, give me a bouncy house.
A bouncy house. I'll give you a bouncy house.
Get it together and bring it back to me.
That's the bouncy house right there. Fugitive on the run from Connecticut authorities was arrested in Georgia Saturday at his birthday party. The Henry County Sheriff's Office announced Saturday that Forenza Murphy, only 30, he just turned a tenor age of 31 years old. Bruiser, the tenor age.
When the cops showed up, he looked and went, Ma, you really had to invite them again?
Is this the strippers, Ma? Did you get me cop strippers for a joke? Was taken into custody in McDonough by the sheriff's office. I can't read today. Blah, 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 blah. Was taken into custody. Normally, they would take me in to see if I'm having a stroke. I'm reading so horribly. That's all I need is a stroke on top of the heart attack.
Yeah, please don't.
Was taken into custody in McDonough by the sheriff's office's Special Investigation Unit. Do you suppose he was throwing 5s and 1s at him? He was trying to make it rain all the way up until he gets the booking and they put the little fingerprint ink on him. Yeah. And he's like, wait. You guys aren't taking off your clothes, are you? And they're like, no, but you are.
They handcuff him. He's like, oh, we're going to the club, huh? They're like, no.
Y'all is
driving.
kinky.
He's like, come on. Yeah. Is this it? Oh. Yeah. Oh, cage dance, huh? You can give me a cage dance?
Yeah, y'all is kinky. Look at you sticking to the roll.
Hey, Ma, thanks.
Ma, how much you put out for this, Ma? And he gets there and they're like, all right, you going to take your clothes off now? And they're like, nope, you are.
What do you mean I got to take my, okay, this is what we're doing. Spread them. I'm not usually into that, but all right, this is where we're going.
Now, wait a minute, what's the fire hose for? Y'all going to do flash dance? Yeah. Deputies
just put in the Gen Pop. Oh, it's your birthday too, huh?
Yours too. Ooh, look at this. It's a birthday club. We get 20% off. Deputies received a tip that Murphy was at a family member's house celebrating his birthday, according to Fox 5 Atlanta. He was taken into custody at the home Saturday afternoon. If you make your way into Henry County, we're going to get on your trail and we won't stop until you're caught. Former fan of Dragnet, Sheriff Reginald Scandrett said on Facebook. Darn. If you're going to make your way into Henry County, you're going to get on your trail where you're going to stop until you get caught. He just sounds way too serious. I think the man drinks too much coffee. Murphy was serving a 4-year sentence on a robbery charge at a Connecticut Department of Corrections halfway house in Bridgeport when he left without permission. That's his first mistake.
Hey, so he wasn't even in jail. He was at a halfway house. What, they want to throw him a party? Well, if you guys aren't throwing me a party, I'm going to my mom's.
He should ask permission to go to mom's. Scandrett added Murphy's apprehension was a great collaborative effort with Connecticut DOC. And we're not talking about a rapper here. We're talking about the Department of Corrections.
That's a bad rap name, Connecticut DOC.
It is, yes. Let me introduce myself. My name is Connecticut DOC.
I like big butts and I cut out line.
I'm into fine wines, and I'm into cognac, and I'm into fine cigars, and I'm into yachts. Murphy is booked at the Henry County Jail and is expected to face additional charges and not additional parties, as it were. All right. The sheriff's office said Murphy had been on the run since August 8th, which is a long time to be conducting your parties.
Yes. Next time, and that brings up fans, next time, don't invite the police to your
That's right. Party. No police strippers. You'll confuse the people who have warrants.
I'm on paper.
I got warrants. I got to get out of here. I got warrants. I don't know why I sounded like a bluegrass banjo picker there, but I do. I got warrants. I can't be here. Bruiser, you're a cat owner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What action have you taken to try to protect your cat? The most extreme action you've ever taken to protect poor Bruiser?
To protect him? Not
yeah.
Heal him? We have puppy gates up around the house so we can have a room to his own, not be bugged by Ziggy.
That's okay. What's the biggest point you've ever gone to spoil Bruiser?
Oh, Mrs. Bruiser spoiled him all the time. She still does. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You name it, she's gone to that line. Like she's gotten him toys. She trained him so he likes his ears being cleaned now.
Oh.
Which is weird. Food. Mm-hmm. She gets him tons of treats. He loves catnip, so we got him a huge bag of catnip. Here's how spoiled this little son of a bitch is.
Okay.
Mrs. Bruiser's home office here, which we're going to be changing soon. Mm-hmm. That's where he hangs out. That's his room. So he has his cat tree, all this stuff in there. Mrs. Bruiser likes to eat like cheese doodles during the day as a snack. Mm-hmm. And so does Bruiser now.
Oh, really?
She feeds him cheese doodles, and he loves it.
Cheese doodles?
Yep. And now it's to the point where he will sneak them and try to open the bag himself when she's not there to eat the cheese doodles.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, I think Mrs. Bruiser could probably take a tip or two from this next woman about how to stand up for Bruiser.
Okay.
Turns out this California woman's been accused of fatally striking a man who she believed at least, was trying to run over her cat.
I see Mrs. Bruiser doing that.
Okay. Well, evidently they have a club.
I can see if somebody threatens one of them, Ziggy or Bruiser, she would take matters and she'd become Rambo.
Right on, right on. We go to Cypress, California, where a 20-year-old woman was arrested after allegedly using her car to fatally strike a man who she believed was trying to run over a cat.
You run over my cat, I'm going to run over you.
According to a news release, I think most of the people in our audience would probably do that as well. They wouldn't stop at just running over. They would run over, back up, run over, back up, run over, back up, squeal the wheels on the spine, and then take off.
Yeah.
According to a news release from the Orange County District Attorney's Office on Sunday, September 25th, at approximately 8:23 in the evening, Hannah Esser got out of her car and confronted the victim, later identified as Louise Anthony Victor, on the 9700 block of Graham Street. She reportedly recorded the interaction and thought he was going to try to hit the cat in the middle of the street. Victor allegedly got out of his car and Esser entered her vehicle, continued arguing with Victor, and then drove off. The DA's office said Esser turned around and drove toward Victor before making a U-turn and allegedly intentionally driving into Victor. Oh, well, bam! Take that.
Speed bump.
Victor reportedly, get this, flew up onto the hood and windshield of the car and landed on the street.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
she hit him. She hit him. Yeah.
He probably rolled right over the top of that car.
Oh, yeah. Cypress Police Department officers responded to the scene and found the victim lying in the roadway. The Cypress Police Department announced. They made an announcement because they were impressed. You should have seen this motherfucker.
This guy's in the road. Look at him.
He's all spread out like when we were back in the academy and we were used to draw outlines. It was just like this.
Look, we had an out like that in our final.
Yeah. Victor was reportedly pronounced dead at the scene, so she got him.
Ooh, she really got him.
Yeah, she nailed him. The DA's office said Esser was charged with one felony count of murder and faces a maximum sentence of 25 years to life if convicted. Her arraignment is scheduled for October 13th. She remains held on $1 million bail.
I feel sorry for whoever gets her cat because you know she spoiled that cat rotten. And now she's going away for a while.
In a statement, Orange County District Attorney Todd Spitzer said this action showed a complete disregard for human life. Yeah, but the cat's safe.
The cat's good.
Mm-hmm. Spitzer continued, the Orange County District Attorney's Office will ensure that this random act of violence targeting a stranger will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So, Bruiser, I got to ask you this. If a man goes over the hood and up on top of the windshield and comes back down and hits the pavement, how fast was the car going?
Oh, I'm going to say 35.
About 35?
Well, killed him, though.
It killed him.
Yeah, but he could have hit his head real hard, and that could have killed him. I'm thinking 35, 40.
Only that fast?
Yeah, you got to think she's in a cul-de-sac or did a U-turn, you know? Okay, it depends on the car she's driving, too. Like, if she got like a Dodge Viper, I'm saying 60, 65, because she can just floor it and hit him.
Yeah. I'm going to say at least 55 miles an hour. I think she,
okay.
Yeah, I think she floored it. Because I think the guy saw it at the last minute and tried to jump out of the way, and she hit him full bore.
Hit his leg, so that made him smash into the windshield.
Yep.
And then either up and over or down onto the pavement.
Yep.
Smacking his head again. So, yeah, that would kill you.
Yep. In other pet news, a Denver man was found guilty of fatally shooting a woman after her dog defecated outside his home. You can't get away with anything these days.
You can't.
You can't.
Did she at least have a poop bag? Was she picking it up? Like, what's up?
See, I would think with a poop bag, you're fine.
That's what I think.
I got no problems. If your dog likes my curb, that's fine. Or your dog likes my yard, that's fine. Just bring a bag.
Yeah, pick it up.
Yeah, no problem.
We have bags. In fact, Mrs. Bruiser is such a pet mom that there's times when she pulls her wallet out and she'll be, oh, this is the poop bags. I'm like, the dog's not with us. She's like, well, I always have one on me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Then I think, well, then I could use it. Put his poop on the side of the road.
Wait, you're going to... So you're going to use it instead of the dog?
She has it. Dog's not with us. Why not? That was Ziggy yelling in the background.
And Ziggy has a right to yell in the background. You're right, Ziggy. That's your poop bag. Jesus H. That threw me off.
I don't think Mrs. Bruiser would pick it up, though.
No, I don't think. I think you're on your own there, pal. A 38-year-old man has been found guilty of shooting and killing a young woman and attempting to fatally shoot her boyfriend while they were walking a dog in 2020.
I don't get how you go from you're shitting on my lawn, I'm going to shoot you and your boyfriend. I'm glad he didn't shoot the dog.
According to a news release from the Denver District Attorney's Office on June 10th, 2020, Isabella Thallis and Darian Simon were walking their dog and got into an argument with Michael Close after the dog defecated near his home in the ballpark area. Close opened his window and yelled, "Are you going to train that effing dog or just yell at it?" Oh, maybe both. What fucking business of it is it of yours?
Train the dog to do what? Not shit? That'll kill it.
Yeah, exactly. How about I train
dogs have to poop?
How about I train him to come up and shit on your shoe? That's a nice thing, huh?
I have two nice neighbors, otherwise I'd train Ziggy to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And Ziggy says, I second it.
She's like, sure.
Sure. I'll do whatever you want, boss. The DA's office said the victims backed down from the argument to take care of their dog, and Close allegedly began shooting. Thallis reportedly died at the scene.
Jeez.
Her boyfriend was hit twice but survived, according to KDVR. The gun used in the shooting allegedly belonged to a Denver police officer. In a statement obtained by KDVR, the Denver Police Department said Close, a friend of a Denver police officer, took the rifle from the officer's home without the officer's knowledge or permission. Upon learning his rifle was missing and that it may have been used in this homicide, the officer notified investigators that the rifle belonged to him. The rifle was not issued to the officer by the Denver Police Department. An assault-style weapon, a Glock 17, a shotgun, and a large amount of ammunition were reportedly recovered from the scene. According to KDVR, Close fled the scene after the shooting, but he was located and taken into custody. On September 22nd, the DA's office announced that a Denver jury found Close guilty of first-degree murder, attempt to commit first-degree murder, and first-degree assault. He is scheduled to be sentenced on November 4th. In a statement, Denver District Attorney Beth McCann said, "I am delighted that we were able to get justice for Isabella Thallis and Darian Simon. Moreover, I am extremely proud of our prosecution team for their excellent work." Isn't that something?
Why did he need all that ammo and guns?
I have no idea.
And that dude, like, wouldn't you check your rifle cabinet every once in a while? Like, hey, there's a rifle missing. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, he was over last week. I'm going to call him up.
That's the thing that kills me. You know, I
Question for you, Tim.
Yeah.
You're the boyfriend. You live.
Yep.
While the guy's in jail, do you take your dog over every single day he's in jail?
Oh, fuck
shit
yeah.
on his lawn?
Yeah. Yep. I create mountains of shit, and I name them after my girl. And I say, that there is Thallis Mountain, right there on your fucking lawn. Yeah.
Do you shit on his lawn, too?
Oh, yeah, you better bet I do. I named that mountain after me.
You're like, intern Yoko, come on. We're all going.
We're all going.
It's a shitting party.
And I invite all my friends over and let them build their own mountains. And before you know it, that guy's got a mountainous range that makes the Rockies look like a little divot. Oh, you better believe it, buddy. Yeah.
Good. I'm not the only one then.
No, we all go. It's going to be like a massive shit movement over on his. You better believe it. Oh God. Yeah. No, he's never seen mountains that. Believe it, Muhammad wouldn't be able to move that mountain. Oh, he'd come out of there just steaming and steaming like the mountain I create for him.
Oh yeah.
I'd go eat about 14 bowls of total every morning, and I'd go over there and I'd spend about 3 hours trying to push it out.
The jar of Metamucil.
Oh, that too.
X-Lax.
I'd eat
Miralax.
Metamucil crackers for a snack, and boy, I'd build it up, man.
Oat bran.
Oh, the works. I'd eat nothing but veggies for a mid-afternoon snack. And
I'd feed Ziggy all the peanut butter she could eat because her poos when she eats peanut butter, oh, they're nasty.
I'm telling you, that boy, oh boy, you better watch it because
she's got a cold right now too, and they smell terrible.
It's all the Zycam she's been taking.
Yeah, that's it.
Doggy Zycam. Yeah, that'll do it. Just a couple more stories here, and then we're done with Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals this week. You ever ran from the cops? I mean, you don't have to tell me if you have, but I mean, yes. Like in another state.
I haven't ran from the cops yet. I've gotten away from them.
What's your top speed?
Well, college. It was college. It was a frat party. I was there. Cops came. So I grabbed a keg. Me and two of my buddies grabbed a keg, and we ran out the back door. Our goal was to get back to the dorm room, and we have the kegs. We're good. So there's a fence we have to get over. It's one of the chain link fences. So buddy goes over, toss him the keg. I go to go over. Crotch gets caught on the fence. Ends up ripping just the pants.
Oh, good.
Nothing else.
All right.
I'm stuck. I have to make the decision because cops are coming. Leave the pants or try to get up. I left the pants.
They didn't have your ID in it, did it?
No, I took all that out.
Okay.
Yeah, and I left the pants, and my friend, the guy who was part of the frat, actually gave them back to me the next day.
Oh, nice. He's
like, the cops didn't care.
Surprised they didn't take it for evidence.
Well, they got the house owners. That's all they cared about. It was breaking up a college party. You know?
I suppose. It
wasn't like I'd murdered a bunch of people. It was on the run,
You ever flee from the cops in a car?
No,
okay.
I have not.
Okay.
Not on my bucket list.
Not on your bucket. No, it should never be on anybody's bucket list. This guy was driving a Nissan GTR and allegedly hit 150 miles an hour while running from police.
Good for him. He's a Fast and Furious fan. He loves him some Vin Diesel.
I guess.
It was a national holiday when Paul Walker died to him.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. The driver allegedly said he didn't feel like stopping after reaching 150 miles an hour. I got here. I might as well stay here. I mean, I'm not stopping.
You know why I pulled you over? Yeah, because I just didn't feel it.
Nah, I didn't feel like it. We go to Georgia, where a driver is in a Nissan GTR, and he was arrested Monday after taking sheriff's deputies on a chase through highway and city streets that almost ended in a pit maneuver.
So the cops caught up? Oh, no, he had to slow way down, probably.
Yeah, he had to slow way down.
Was his top speed, you said, yeah.
Right, but now listen to this. This is interesting. He played with them a little bit, but this almost ended in a pit maneuver, which is rare for cops.
Yeah, they have to get permission to do it.
Yes, the cop had to get. The cop called in to get permission, and he got it. I believe, if I remember right. Let me read this again. Recently released dash cam footage of an incident on the night of September 24th shows Forsyth County Sheriff's deputies attempted to catch two cars reported speeding on the highway. A deputy followed the GTR's trail off of the highway where the driver was clocked going 100 miles an hour and picking up steam. He kept the pace, speeding through the streets of Cumming, Georgia. I bet he did. Allegedly hitting 150 miles an hour, police said. There's a video for this, and I'm not, because of time constraints, I'm not going to play the video. The officer driving gets clearance to perform a pit maneuver when the cruiser catches up to the driver. This is where the driver kicks it in. Now he's going 100 miles an hour. He teases the cop cruiser, to catch up to him, right?
So he's giving him a tidbit, like, here, you can pit me. Come on
and pit me. Come on, buddy, right? But almost as soon as he does, the driver of the GTR waves his hand outside the window, signaling his intention to stop. Like, okay, I'm going to stop. Don't worry about it. He says he's sorry multiple times as the officer shouts at him to get out of the vehicle.
Okay.
The day beforehand, another officer saw him going 179 miles an hour.
Jeez.
Like he's trying to go back in time. Right?
You only need to go 88 to go back in time.
Well, true. But was unable to catch him. The driver, identified as 27-year-old Tejas Desai, told officers he didn't feel the need to stop after he had reached such high speeds. Desai was charged with reckless driving and felony fleeing. A pit maneuver, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a precision immobilization technique and is used by law enforcement across the country to ram into the side of a vehicle to get it to swerve sideways and come to a stop. So think about that the next time you want to hit triple digits off track.
and not stop because you don't feel like it.
Right. In other words, they're going to ram you in the side. You probably are going to, go end
spin.
over end or spin
Yep.
into a ditch somewhere. One of the
There's
other.
a crime spree going on in the UK right now where people are using pit maneuvers, and when the car slides out, they run up, they rob the people, get back in the car, and drive away.
Yeah. Yep.
So that just shows they have to have police training.
Yep. Exactly. I mentioned nakedness earlier.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
We got some AB.
We got some from AB. We got another naked story. You know what though? I'm gonna do this story and then we'll end with the naked story.
Okay.
Oh no, we're not gonna end with the naked story. We have one other story after that, which is absolutely ridiculous. So we got 3 stories left. This man believes he lives in a country song and was arrested for it.
I feel that way sometimes.
A Bedford man, Bedford, Pennsylvania, stole a truck and was found in a trailer that he was born in.
See that there trailer? Yeah.
That's right.
Right there.
I was born in that trailer. Officer, I'm in this here trailer because I was born in this here trailer. Bedford man is facing charges after he was accused of stealing a stranger's truck before taking it to the trailer he claimed he was born in. According to state police. That's right.
Had to go home.
You're going to love the name. 31-year-old Kenneth Welch Jr. He races funny cars on the weekend.
Kenny, you're in trouble again.
Kenny.
Junior?
Junior, get your butt in here now. Is facing numerous charges related to both the stolen truck and the reported burglary called into PSP just minutes apart. State police, that's Pennsylvania State Police, by the way. State police were called into a home on Sunnyside Road in Bedford. He lived on a sunny side of the street. In Bedford, September 29th, just after 8 a.m. It was 8 a.m. when he reportedly stole a truck. The owner reported to troopers that he went to bed the night before. When he got up at around 8 a.m., it was gone. Meanwhile, 2 different state troopers out of Bedford were called to a trailer on Elk Road for a report of a burglary. A witness told police he saw an unknown male, later identified as Welch, drive up in a truck and try to get into the trailer. It was discovered that the truck was the one reported stolen from Sunnyside Road. When police entered the residence, they found Welch was laying in a closet. That, according to the criminal complaint. When interviewed, Welch was asked how he got into the trailer, and he reportedly replied to police that he was born there.
I was born right there in that closet. You saw me sit in that fetal position. That's how I was born. Mama she spread those legs and out came me.
Let me
I
cue
just
up.
popped right up.
Let me cue up the band. It's the old country. There you go. Now that you've gotten the irritating fiddle out of the way. He was born there. He also told police that the stolen truck was there when he arrived and he was never inside it. However, police reported that he was barefoot. Of course he was when they found him because he's from the country.
See, I was born here. I wasn't born in that truck. I was born here. Why would I steal that truck? I never been in that truck, but here I was born. That's why I'm here.
Police reported that he was barefoot when they found him, and sandals the same size as Welch's feet were found in the truck. So therefore, he took the sandals off before he went in the house because that's just proper manners, Bruiser.
Yeah, he's going back to see his mama. He's going to make sure he respects her property.
You take them darn flip-flops off before you come in this house. You ain't going to track that dirt in here no more. No way. Police noted in the affidavit that Welch refused to answer any other questions. Welch was arraigned and placed in Bedford County Prison on theft, burglary, trespassing, as well as lesser related charges, such as not loving his mama enough to give her a kiss before he went to get in that there house, then there, hair. Bail was set at $25,000 for the truck theft, $50,000 for the burglary. They took off $1.25 for reminiscing about the old homestead. Preliminary hearings are scheduled for October 12th. There you go there. Two last stories here. Two last stories? Two last stories? Yeah, two. Yeah, okay, this one's just weird. We go to Texas, where a naked Texas father is accused of abandoning an injured baby in a shed and stealing a truck. Again with the truck.
Yeah.
No one ever...
Kid being naked.
No one ever steals a Kia.
So the cops pull the guy over. Why'd you steal the truck? I lost my keys. Look what I'm wearing.
Where am I going to keep the car keys? Let's face it. A 43-year-old father, by the way, we go to Livingston, Texas. A 43-year-old father was arrested and charged after allegedly abandoning his injured 9-month-old child in a shed and stealing a truck. Dear God, people.
Just drop the baby off. That's where I went to medical school.
Listen, you got to keep the baby warm. You got to keep the baby safe. Yeah. Where do I keep all my stuff that I want to keep warm and safe? My shed.
Everything that's precious to me is in that shed.
That's right.
My baby is precious. He's in that shed.
Put him in the shed. According to KPRC TV on Saturday, September 24th at around... Why am I talking like this, Bruiser? God damn it, I don't know. According to KPRC TV on Saturday, September 24th at around 6 a.m., a woman named Catherine McLean, now a relation to John McLean, called police and said she heard a loud truck outside her home. Her daughter reportedly looked outside and saw the neighbor's truck being stolen. McLean's husband, who was John McLean, was able to gather security footage from property cameras, which revealed a man in his underwear walking next door, entering the truck and driving off. KPRC reports the suspect allegedly tried to break into vehicles in their yard as well. The video was reportedly timestamped shortly after 3 a.m. Livingston Police Department officers reportedly viewed the surveillance video and pulled fingerprints from the vehicles and found blood inside of them. Officers were able to locate the stolen vehicle and found Clifford Gines behind the wheel. McLean and her family reportedly noticed their dogs barking at the shed around 3 hours later and found the abandoned 9-month-old girl inside. McLean told KPRC it was a traumatic experience. The child was reportedly transported to Texas Children's Hospital and suffered a broken femur. The child's condition is unknown, but it's believed that she is doing fine and expected to recover. Gines was arrested. I almost said erected. Oh, my God. Gines was arrested and booked into Polk County Jail for injury to a child and abandoning and endangering a child, according to records. He remains held on $200,000 bond. According to KPRC, Gines was recently arrested on September 16th for a parole violation.
Next time, don't steal a truck that's sold out. That's what you got to do there, guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Take care of your damn kid.
That's right. That's right. And finally, in the story more disgusting than Kim Kardashian and cryptocurrency and Antonio Brown showing his ass in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or wherever the hell he is. A man calls 911 after his sister ends his wash cycle.
I told her it's got to be in there for an hour. She stopped there 45 minutes. I got my delicates in there. I don't know why I went southern with it.
I don't know. It's in Ohio, which is borderline south. We go to Richmond Heights, Ohio, where officers responded to a 911 call at a residence on September 23rd and learned that a man had called because his sister had taken his clothes out of the washing machine without his permission. If this were the case, Bruiser, police would be flooded, notice the language, flooded with calls to every laundromat in this nation.
I can kind of relate. I would call 911, but I don't let Mrs. Bruiser touch my wrestling gear.
See?
When I wash it. But I always ask, hey, do you have stuff that you need to wash?
Yeah.
So that way it's just not sitting there.
It was this guy's third load of laundry.
You got to take a break. Do one, maybe two, and then it's her turn. Let her do it. You got to share.
Yeah. It was a third load of laundry, and the woman said she took it out because it was taking too long. He was probably like 9 hours into doing laundry.
At that point in time.
The 27-year-old man wanted to pursue charges against his sister for touching his laundry, but officers advised him that no crime had been committed. They were both told to work out the matter as adults since they were living together in their grandmother's house.
Grandma! Betsy Sue took my laundry out. I don't care.
Suppose grandma comes out and goes, "Here's the deal, children. These is two of my bestest knives. You get one, you get one. Pretend you're Zorro and fight it out. I don't give a shit. I'm going back to smoking Pall Malls out on the porch."
And stop making my water bill so high with all the damn laundry you're doing.
That's right. This house is going to wash away if you put one more goddamn load in there. I better not hear that agitator engage one more time. If you know what's good for you. Because I got a bigger knife. It's called a sword, and it's hanging above my bed. Officers responded to hibachi taste around 2:30 a.m. September 19th for a welfare check on a woman who had been sitting there for 30 minutes. Hibachi taste. I don't want to put my tongue on a hibachi.
Neither do I.
Especially one that's plugged in. They learned that she was trying to get a ride to Youngstown from a man she had met on a dating website. I think this is a different story.
That's a different story.
Ooh, let's see what this one is.
There's no more laundry.
Yeah. She learned that she was trying to get a ride to Youngstown from a man she'd met on a dating website. Instead, the man assaulted her and dropped her off in Euclid before she walked into Richmond Heights. Weird. She was uncertain who she was and could not provide any personal information. She was subsequently taken to a hospital. Oh, weird shit happens in Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. That ought to be the state slogan. Weird shit happens here, Ohio.
Yes, it should.
It's just weird. Okay, so that does it for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals for this week. Bruiser, what you got going on this weekend?
I'm doing a charity event on Saturday for a guy named Brian Hawks. It's a Stuff the Truck event. So it's like, I don't know what it is, but you stuff the truck with stuff and help charity. That's all I know right now.
Stuff the truck event. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know what we're stuffing it with, but I'm going to.
That's what she said. Go ahead. Yeah.
To give my charity.
Good. What do I got going on? I worked up at St. Cloud last weekend, so that was fun. I think this weekend is low key, I hope. But yeah, I don't think I have anything going on this weekend. So
I'm also going. It's Caprice Coleman's wife's birthday, so Mrs. Bruder and I are going because we are really good friends with them and like to celebrate birthdays.
There you go. Well, happy birthday there.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it. For this week. Tomorrow on Darkness Radio, we've got Supernatural News, of course. Got some interesting stuff going on Supernatural News. I'm trying to remember who's our guest for this week. I blanked out. Well, I'll tell you tomorrow who our guest is for Darkness Radio. I want to thank our guest today, Marla Bernard. The book is By the Side of the Road, the true story of the abduction and murder of Ann Harrison. We'll encourage you to pick that up. The link is in the description of this show. Thank you again, once again, folks, for being a listener here on Darkness Radio. We greatly appreciate you, and we mean that. Continue to listen to us here on True Crime Tuesday and Darkness Radio. 2 websites we want to mention real quick. They are official True Crime Tuesday. You can listen to the Patreon years, the archives of the Patreon years from 2017 to 2021 at officialtruecrimetuesday.com. Some other goodies over there as well. Also, darknessradioshow.com is the other website as well. We have got all the archives that are currently available for Darkness Radio over there on darknessradioshow.com, plus some other goodies over there on darknessradioshow.com. And if you're an Apple user, if you have an iPad, iPhone, Apple Watch, or anything Apple that you use, you can download the Darkness Radio app right there from the Apple Store. So do that. It has been totally revamped. It's got brand new stuff on it. You got a link to official True Crime Tuesday to get the shows, the archives there. You've got a link to the Darkness Radio shows, the brand new Darkness Radio shows there. and much, much more. You even have a link to the brand new Darkness Radio store. So there you go. All kinds of great stuff on the Darkness Radio Apple app. If you're an Apple user, please download that app. That'll do it for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in to the best in paranormal podcasting. This has been True Crime Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow for Darkness Radio.